Hello and welcome to the SuperShow podcast in this year, 2021. First time I'm here. You guys have been here already, so hello,
I hate to break it to
welcome.
you, Chris, but we've been in the future for a whole week now. So welcome to the brave new world. How does it feel to be here?
I don't like it. Send me back.
Chris was loving 2020 so much that he didn't want to leave.
He just stayed there for an extra week or two.
Okay, so first of all, hello, Alex and Jamie.
Hello, mate.
Before we get stuck into it, thank you so much for joining us. We are a gaming podcast that don't take ourselves too seriously. All that chitter, yammer, blah, blah, blah. But yeah, who would have thought, right, that 2021 was not going to, the clock was going to tick over and it wasn't going to be like this fucking utopia.
Do you know what? I don't know why, but I started to buy that it would be.
No.
It's the way that everyone was talking about it, I was like, is it going to all be different in 2021?
I even fucking warned you. I said, dude, it's not going to be like the end, like that one section in Return of the King where the hobbits are gay for each other at the end after destroying the ring. It's like, come on. Hold on. Shouldn't have said it that way, but
I did half expect to wake up one morning and find that everything was moving in slow motion and people were skipping down the streets rather than walking. In fact, I woke up to find that no one's allowed on the streets.
And no soft focus, unfortunately. So there you go.
No soft focus, what is life with hard focus? Who wants that?
Nobody.
Exactly.
But there we go. Anyway, we are a podcast available on YouTube and all major podcasting platforms of your choice, really. This is what we're all about. We're big on choice, pro-choice, some might say, but only when it relates to our Super Show. So there we go. So you can watch us on YouTube, or you can, I don't know where this is going.
Does that mean
that
we
sounds,
don't want people
that's
to get abortions? What?
Yeah, that does sound terrible. That's not what Chris meant. He just lost his mind.
I don't know what you guys are talking about.
I think people should get them if they want them.
Hey, listen, okay? 2021 is the year that we do not apologize for anything.
No, but we'll say choose your choice. Let's go like that.
Yeah, choose your choice, okay? We're on YouTube, we're on Spotify, iTunes, Google Podcasts, Deezer, I don't know, some of the other fucking dog shit ones, but, just stick to the main ones, I guess. And we are on an internet radio, paisleyradio.com, every Thursday at 10 p.m. and we fucking love it. So go check it out. Now,
hell yeah,
fellas, coming into 2021, it's been a bit of a challenge, but there's something that's happened or happening and has been happening for just over a year that is really kind of like, it's kept all of us going, I think you'll agree. And that is the lovely support that we get from our patrons. So if you head on over to patreon.com/supershow, you could fill our loins with even more joy, and just check it out. No pressure. Okay, just come hang out. Chill at the bar. We'll maybe put a drink in front of you. You don't have to drink it. It's safe. Don't worry. But do what you do. There are some patrons at this bar though. You guys are cracky.
just enjoying the show.
Yeah. You know what? It's really good to know that you guys can watch me dig my own hole and just not intervene whatsoever. Just like, let's see where this goes.
Look at the lighting, look at the jacket, listen to what he's saying, and just know what he's about.
Jonesy, listen, life is complicated. Okay, all right, but yeah, we got some patrons that we want to shout out to. So we love these dudes; they're helping us a lot, and I'm talking about AIM, Aaron Cameron, Athletic Gravy, Brett Z, aka Shellshock, Hacksaw Book Read, Jesper Cam Danielson, Javela Cujo, Leo Merger, Lonnie Thompson, Magic Grits, Martin Skihan, Mindful Pig, Nathan Pierce, Sean Kennedy, Slippy Meat, and it is Slippy Meat because he contacted us and said, yeah, Slippy, because it's fun to say and fun to
Slippy
eat.
Meat.
Or some shit like that. I don't know. Starfall Kids, Scary Omen, Zach Cream, and the big boys. Love them so much that I have named my testicles after them, and I had to shave my area to kind of tattoo the names, but it was worth it. Hey, it was worth it, fellas. Freddie K Official, Freddie K Official, Manuel Guerrero, Peaswad, and the Dude Abides. We love each and every single one of you. And hey, you know what? Go check out patreon.com/supershow, and maybe throw a coin to your digital witches.
That was a year ago. God.
Wow. Imagine being a tattoo artist. You've just come out of lockdown. You're like, finally, I can get back to doing business. Chris walks in, whaps it out, throws it down on the table, freshly shaved, and says, I want these 4 names tattooed along it.
Oh, I'm just imagining, when women go to hospitals when they're pregnant, they're about to give birth, and they get put in those weird things where their ankles are kind of
with
hoisted up.
Yeah,
Yeah, exactly. I'm
Stirrups,
imagining
yeah.
Chris in one of those poses, and like the guy's just like. But then also, okay, I'm going to get in trouble for this.
Yes, dude. No apologies. Let's go.
Okay,
We-
okay.
Listen. Okay. We cannot be mediocre. There've been a couple of episodes where I've been like, we should have pushed the envelope a bit. I want to come out of all of these episodes in 2021 saying, guys, did we push that too far? Did we?
That's the worst thing you could ever have for your anxiety. You're going to be checking the comments for the first 48 hours. Like, what the fuck did I
but the
do
point
wrong?
is to
Chris
not
has
be a
already denounced being pro-choice in the first 10 seconds of this show.
No, listen, guys, listen. You got to just do what you got to do. You got to push the envelope, and you have to be so sure about yourself that you are not going to apologize for anything. All right, fuck
Okay.
it. Fuck
Basically, what I was going to say was I reckon most tattoo artists would reject a ballsack tattoo, not because they don't want to work with an individual's ballsack, but because I watched a tattoo program once and a person was getting a tattoo after they'd lost shitloads of weight and had loose skin, and the tattoo artist was like, this is a fucking nightmare, because they were having to like stretch it out as tight as they can. A ballsack, like my ballsack can fucking quadruple in size sometimes. Like that thing's like a parachute when it wants to be.
Quadruple in size.
After you've paid someone to jump on it and step on it.
Yeah, I was going to
for a
say you
bit,
should
it
probably go
swells.
check. You are getting
No,
older.
not
I know you're
quadruple-
younger than us, but you are getting older.
come on.
If that's
Not
happening
quad-
to you,
not
you may
quadruple in
need to seek
size.
medical
This isn't
help.
some fucking like Randy Marsh thing where I could sit on them like a fucking bouncy ball. Like this is like it's a very elastic.
Elastic.
Yeah,
I
just think that was a
heard
nightmare
once.
for a tattoo artist because like they'd have to stretch it out, they'd do it, and then you go outside when it's fucking minus 10 degrees and you can't see the tattoo. Be all
But hold on, because they do tattoos on like weird places, like your eyelids and stuff as well, and like the inside of your lip and things, right? I've seen those tattoos.
Yeah,
on
but
people.
John,
how do you stretch that out?
No, but
You
they're
don't
a
have
lot
to
less,
as much,
a
it's
lot less
tighter.
elastic though.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, I think I see what you mean.
Like if
Bro.
you had to stretch out your foreskin and then tattoo like a houndstooth pattern, very
Hold on, so
very tasteful.
I
then
don't know.
like what's going to happen?
Is this where we figure out, we discuss, if you're a tattoo artist, let us know. If you're going to tattoo on someone's shaft, do they have to be excited the whole time to stretch the skin out as much as possible?
This is why I think most
do they need
people
to get a
just don't do it.
fluffer?
Nah.
A fluffer?
Nah,
Maybe
I
they
reckon
do.
they just don't do it. I reckon they would just be like, "You're fucking mental, get out of here," and that's
That's
where you
where
have to
all
go
the
homebrew.
That's where all the fluffers went from the 70s porn industry. They went to tattoo artists.
Guys, moving swiftly along, but kind of related because in our Discord, so if you pledge to our Patreon, you do get access to our Discord server. A lot of fun conversations I had there, but I wanted to ask you guys something because some of our Discordians were mentioning
Like it.
that there is a drinking game that could be had when listening to SuperShow,
Oh, great!
right? And it was
Go on.
like
Here we go.
anytime Jamie gets angry,
Oh, this. Yeah.
right,
Not fair.
drink.
Not fair.
Anytime, what was yours, Jonesy? It was like anytime you make some kind of a spurious bullshit claim,
Wow.
Yeah, they'd be drinking a fair bit.
or anytime you sat on the fence.
Yeah, they'd still be drinking a fair
Right.
bit.
But I
I
think
just
that's
thought when
fair-
you said about Jamie getting angry, it wouldn't be drinking at all, and then suddenly you'd have to just neck everything you've got for 10 minutes. You'd just be guzzling.
Nah,
as
you're
it goes
right.
off on
You
one.
just got to take that bottle of whiskey, just fucking smash it across your head, like.
I
But the
don't
other
know how I
one,
feel about
and this is where I get a question to you, fellas. The other one was saying, because they had like, okay, Jamie, he's the angry one. Jonesy, okay, he's the fence sitter, and it was like, yeah, Chris just talks about dicks all the time.
It's
I mean,
true.
How did
you
this
do.
happen?
You're a big purveyor of dick content.
You are. You're serving the gay community of our podcast because they
True.
want, and the female, the straight female contingent who want to hear about dicks.
I mean, who doesn't want to hear about dicks? But I had to like
Other people.
I had to self-reflect on this, okay? Because I was like, fuck, am I the dick man? And it's like,
Yeah, you are definitely.
am I the dick
think
man?
you might- I think
but
you
then,
might be
but
the
then I was
dick guy,
thinking,
yeah.
how did I get to this point? How did I become the dick man?
By talking about dicks.
No, yeah, but why do I talk about dick so much? And I think it's because you guys used to talk about dick so much, and I was like, oh right, these guys are talking about dicks, so I got to talk about dicks, and I'm not going to be one to be outdone by dicks now.
Should we cast our minds back? Right, there was a video we had to do back in the old days on a little channel called All Time Gaming, where
never heard of it.
In sponsorship with a series of books, I believe that were called the Summoner series. We did a one-off Dungeons and Dragons, or D&D, if you will, special. Chris, you played a unique character who you sort of, you added lots of colour to over the course of his story, his trajectory. Do you want to remind the folks one of the first acts you committed in your time in the world of Summoner?
But there's one. Can I just go? Because even before the act of which Jamie talks, you had made a decision, obviously, to do with said act, which feeds into it.
But hold on, okay? Because
recount.
What was Jamie? I will recount, okay? But I feel like that you guys are painting me in an unfair light here, okay? And like I said, I'm not going to apologize for anything, all right? I did what I did. But what was happening was we were playing a role-playing game where elves are looked down on, and I was an elf character. Okay, and no one trusts elves in this world. And we were walking through a farm, and this elderly woman and her daughter.
Superfluous to all this, you'd already decided that your elf had 2 dicks.
No, I didn't.
One dick wasn't enough.
No, I didn't. That was reactionary. Okay,
because I chopped his dick off. I chopped.
Okay.
I see.
Oh,
right.
Who's the dick man now, Jamie?
Tell people why I chopped your dick off.
Well, look. Let's just get into it. No, okay. Look, okay, so the people we were on a clandestine mission, and this elderly fucking woman there is just gonna rat me out, and then all of you guys would have been killed, but I'm an elf and I'm wiry, so I just run away. It's fine, no big deal. I was trying to do a solid by my teammates, okay? Team. T-E-A-M. Team. I hope I spelled that right. I'm not going to go back and think about it because no apologies, all right? And what happened was I said, shit, they've seen me in this world that they don't like elves, so I'm going to go and slaughter them.
And Chloe wouldn't let you, would she?
Yeah, our DM Chloe wouldn't let me. But then also the dice failed me time and time again, so it wasn't meant to be. And then if I couldn't kill them, I was like, all right, fine, I'm just going to jump on the roof and piss on their thatch. And that is where Jamie, the OG dick boy, said he was going to cut off my dick. I said, that's okay, because I'm a team player, T-E-A-M, team player, but it's okay because I got 2 dicks.
It was a D&D campaign. We were given carte blanche to come up with characters to role play as, and you went from 0 to dick in about 3 minutes.
No, my friend, no.
And that's why you have your reputation.
You went 0 to dick. Because you were the one. You instigated it. I went 0 to murder in a minute. You went 0 to dick in a minute and 5.
Okay, we don't need to talk about this anymore. I rest my case. I've made my points very clear. I'm in agreement with the people on Discord.
In case, hold on, boys, hold on, because just in case people have lost count, if you are drinking, if Chris mentions dicks, you should have drunk 10 times, and Jamie getting angry, it's 5 times. So drink up, get those shots in.
This is how I become the angry person, is because that's considered anger. That was just me kind of like, that was animated.
Animated, yeah. Okay, well, we'll just call you Animated Jamie from now on.
Oh, you were getting there.
I was reminded, by the way, of the game Overcooked, because Sasha Grey has been streaming Overcooked on Twitch. Jamie, I'll have you know.
You can't help
and that just reminded me. Of what you are like in the kitchen, my friend.
I bet it reminded you of a lot of things.
Wait, does she get really angry in Overcooked as well, or is it just the game that reminded you of Jamie?
I mean, I don't know, dude.
Have you not watched it? I haven't watched it either.
It's one tab of about 50, if you get what I'm saying.
Right.
I think I follow, yeah.
And they've all got Sasha Grey in.
Good God.
Well, maybe. All right. Anyway, we're a gaming podcast, boys, besides trying to get people drunk for playing the game. But this is what I want, okay? I want more banter. I want people to come out of this experience of the Super Show and be like, you know what? That was a fucking a humdinger of a time. And I think so far, we might be doing it.
I don't know. I worry sometimes there's a positive correlation between what you consider banter and the likelihood that it is that we get sued or taken down, or we break some companies or some platforms' terms of service. We piss off viewers. We piss off listeners.
Sorry, do you guys realise that we are recording a podcast right now? This is the podcast. What is happening?
I thought we were. I thought we were in the pre-match lobby.
It's quality. I don't know what you're talking about. But listen, okay, Jamie, to your point, I'm just very quickly, before we find out what we've been playing, because we've got to catch up. The people need to know. I'm going to bring up the comment of the week, right? Because Jared Desmond said, known drug trafficker, Tim Allen. Eh?
Fucking hell. Add it to the list, baby.
I didn't get this reference. I must admit.
Known murderer, Jonesy.
No, I got that reference.
Is Tim Allen a drug trafficker?
Tim Allen was arrested for being a drug trafficker.
Was he?
Is that what his famous mugshot's from? Where he's got the mustache?
Yeah.
Ah, there you go.
Oh,
do you know what?
right.
Like, known murderers, I'm not keen on. Known rapists or racists, I'm even less keen on. A known drug trafficker,
No, but
is he just trying to have a good time?
The podcast would be called Known Murderer. That's just like the catch-all term, the thing that's going to get people through the door. And each episode is like, oh, he's a murderer. Oh, he's a scumbag. Oh, he's an adulterer or a fucking cultist. And then here's Tim Allen, the drug trafficker. Delicious.
I just looked it up. So apparently he was caught with 650 grams of cocaine.
Yeah, not a small amount. Not a small amount.
I want to say that an actor could put that away in about a week.
How much does a baby weigh?
How much does
a baby weigh? Give it to me in babies.
Oh God, that's probably £1. So that's a seventh of an average baby.
Oh, that's so a bit like a baby's leg. That's nothing.
Yeah, baby's maybe not even a leg. Maybe a fist and a bit of an arm. I don't know.
You could accidentally inhale that much cocaine.
A baby's arm holding an apple.
Yeah, maybe.
All right, guys, fuck it. Oh.
Drink.
All right, guys, what have you been playing? Jamie, you go up first.
Good, because I've just been playing one game, and I've been playing for a couple of weeks now, although I've failed to mention it so far, a little title called Fuser.
Fuser, yeah?
Exactly, which is a title, I feel like when you say that out loud, people imagine I'm playing some kind of like Wipeout-style, futuristic racing game or shooter or car combat or something. But no, it's a music-based game. I hesitate to call it a rhythm game for reasons I'll explain in a second.
Was it harmonics?
It is harmonics. So the people behind the early Guitar Hero games and then subsequently the Rock Band games and some dancing ones and a few other bits and pieces. Fuse is this really weird thing where apparently after the plastic instrument revolution fell on its arse, however many years ago now, harmonics
thanks, Mad
were like...
Cats.
Exactly. But Harmonix were like, what the fuck do we do now? Those are the games we make. And apparently they made a board game with, I think, Hasbro or something like that, called Drop Mix. And Drop Mix was this thing where, like, it was a cards to life game. So, like, cards that had NFC chips in them, like, and were... Each card represented like different stems of different songs. So it'd be like the bass line from this song and the vocals from that song and the drum beat from this song. And you would play cards on top of each other on these sensors and it would link up to an app and it would play this mix. And it seems like what they've done with Fuser is they've taken that technology, the technology that allows them to take wildly different songs and instrumentations from wildly different songs and mix them together in a way that actually sounds good and turned it into a video game. And it's really fucking cool. It's really fucking cool.
There is play this online with other people.
You can do. There is a battle mode where you can do 1v1 against someone else. But that's kind of, you've almost hit the nail on the head in terms of what's weird about Fuser, which is how do you take a concept and turn it into a game?
Yeah.
And that's where it becomes one of these titles that is a little bit hard to recommend at full price for anyone that's not totally convinced on the very act of making music mixes.
Right, yeah. So,
for example, like, it's got a campaign, and the campaign is like basically a tutorial, like an over-elaborate tutorial that's broken out into different stages, and you're kind of given certain tracks to work with, and you can add some of your own to that, and you're told when to play certain bits and pieces, and when to mute certain tracks, when to solo certain tracks, and you're rated on your ability to do that alongside your ability to keep the crowd entertained. You get a 5-star rating and so on and so forth. But like I said, that campaign really is a tutorial.
Yeah.
Right.
For like just to introduce all these mechanics. So what you're really talking about is a game that says, okay, we've got 100 licensed tracks. We're going to give them all to you. We're going to split them all into 4 parts. And it's usually something along the lines of a drum line, a bass line, like a lead guitar line, depending on the genre, and the vocals. And you can just make mixes, and you're doing it live in front of an audience.
So it's like a DJ sandbox, then, is it?
It is, because there's no note highway. You're never being told, like DJ Hero, you're never being told to push a certain button at a certain time.
Yeah,
All you're really ever doing is keeping a crowd entertained, and the things you can do to keep them happy are things like, first of all, keeping the mix moving. Don't, put 4 tracks in there and then just keep it, unless you think it sounds really good and you just want to sit there listening to it, which does happen a lot when you realize like fucking 50 Cents in the Club really goes with the rest of the instruments from Rock the Casbah, and you just sit there for like 3 minutes like, oh yeah, this works. But
so what you're saying is this is going to be your return to Twitch.
No, it wouldn't, because I think my Twitch channel would last about 3 minutes if I played this game.
Before they got you off air.
I actually, horrible release timing for them. I actually feel a bit rough with everything that happened at Twitch at the end of last year.
It sounds. I'm not going to lie, Jamie. It sounds like
I would like to show people this game.
Yeah.
Okay. I feel like I need to see it because
Yeah.
I'm not really getting it.
Yeah. Do you think it's a game that that it seems like a game that's going to pass people by, and do you think that in itself is a shame?
It would be a shame, but at the same time, they haven't done enough to make themselves a clear and obvious thing for people to want, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
They've just got a really cool idea, and they've clearly, as they've developed this technology between the board game that came before and this game that's come now, that's like, hey, we can give you the songs and you can mix stuff together in a way that sounds good. Do you remember, like, the first time you heard, I'm trying to think of examples now, but the first time you heard, like, one I always remember was someone who mixed Slipknot's Psychosocial with Justin Bieber's Baby, or another very internet memey one is just the Notorious B.I.G. with Thomas the Tank Engine.
Yeah.
And we've all got our own versions of them we've heard over the years, but there's a moment where you go, what the fuck? Like, why does this sound so fucking good? When Fuse is at its best, you are creating those moments for yourself, and it's uniquely. It sounds like a dumb word to use, but it's uniquely euphoric when it fires on all cylinders.
Yeah.
But at the same time, like, they've struggled to make a game out of it, and doing things like dropping things or muting things on the beat, and doing crowd requests when they want Latin American music from the 1980s, and you're like, well, I don't really want to play you any. So when you're penalized for stuff like that, it starts to feel like, okay, this is why it's not a rhythm game, and why it's not as easy to see how they gamify it as it was in Guitar Hero and Rock Band. But at the same time, the core idea and the technology behind Fuser is unique and is exciting, and that's why I've been engaged by it so far.
Interesting. Wow. Okay. Decent, man.
I will also say that if you go around looking for clips of it on YouTube, and I noticed this before I bought it, a lot of the people who've made YouTube videos about it are really shit at showcasing how good the music can be. So if you're listening to watching reviews and stuff like that, and you're like, this doesn't sound good, they probably are just shit.
Yeah,
there are some really good ones out there.
Yeah. Nice.
Decent.
Jonesy, what you been playing, buddy?
Mate, I've been dabbling with a few different things.
This is quality, by the way, folks.
Yeah, we're in for a treat on this one, I know.
So I don't know why, but I really got there was you know when you get an itch that you need to scratch, and certain games you're like, okay, I want to play this, I want to play that, I want to play this.
Yeah, totally.
Sure.
So I had to play some Warzone. I've been it's actually been one that I've stuck with a lot for the past year, hopping in and out. Well, to be fair, I took 4 months off of Warzone last year. But yeah, no, this last week, sort of getting back into it again. Played a bit of Jamie as well, and Martin Ruffle again.
Yeah. I was meant to be playing with you guys, and I was not able to synchronize, which sucks for me, but probably better for you guys.
Nah, not at all, mate. It would have been better if you were there, definitely.
Hey.
But no, so I've also been playing some more Ghost of Tsushima. I'm into Act 2 now, so I'm moving my way through that game. Very good game still, absolutely gorgeous game. One of the things that always blows me away about that is just how good that game looks. It's genuinely a gorgeous game. And every time I play it, I go into the photo mode, which I've never done before, and go, shall I take a picture of this? I'm like, nah, I've got too many photos. But then, I got on a few weird ones. So I got hold of Unravel 2 because it was pretty cheap on the Switch.
Unravel 2. Okay.
And I actually wanted to play some couch co-op with the missus. So thought I'd have a little go. So then what happened was I started to play it. My 4-year-old was like, "What are you playing?" And I said, "Oh, it's just some." And I was playing it just to like see what it looked like.
Jamie, just so you know, that's the beginning of the end. What is
this?
What is that? That looks cool.
Yeah.
Like,
so we then played it for an hour. Like I went in for like 5 minutes to just see what it looked like and just see how it felt. And he wanted to play it, so we played it for an hour. But it's a very cool game. I love the mechanics. It's a very mechanic heavy game. Like we started to get into some of the story stuff, and I'm like, okay, this is kind of weird. It's a little dark, and I won't be able to play it with the 4-year-old anymore, maybe. But I'm definitely going to play a bit more with the wife. Yeah, because people don't know, so you're kind of these little. I'm sure everyone's seen Unravel. You're a little thread thing, yarny little dude, and you in 2, there's 2 of you running around, and you help each other like swinging and doing platforming. But then you start to get to a story bit where you see sort of like shadows of people who are almost like ghosts or memories, and it's a bit abusive, and there's obviously some messed up relationships and stuff. And then my 4-year-old's going, "Daddy, what's the man doing? Why are they running? Why are they hiding?" I'm like,
"Oh my
out.
God."
Oh, okay.
So
in before Jonesy's kid is completing the game inside in the next year.
But I hadn't played Unraveled, so that was cool. And I'm looking forward to playing a bit more of that. But then 2 left fielders this week, because do you know what? I don't know why I felt like playing this, but Dota 2 I've had installed for a long time, and I thought I would hop in and finally finish the tutorials and try and play a match just so I could see why Chris loves it so.
Yes, Jonesy. And hold on, let me guess. The worst tutorial you've ever seen in a game ever.
Do you know what? The first time I did the tutorial, like 6 months ago, maybe, I thought that. Maybe it's because I had done that once. I did actually think it was better this time. I think my memory of it has just changed. And I was like, okay, I kind of get more now. Actually, do you know what it is, Chris? It's probably talking to you. I got more about what I'm supposed to do anyway, so the tutorial kind of passed me by, maybe.
Okay.
But then played an actual game of it.
Like a live game with actual people.
Yes. Yeah. And
those poor folks.
No, well, this is what was odd about it was, I think, because it was like a match that obviously wasn't ranked or anything like that. It was just random people. As soon as we sort of started playing, I swear within like 5 minutes, people started disconnecting from the game, and then other people, I guess, were jumping in, and it was such a mess. And then no one was really playing, and there was like me and one other person on my team versus a whole team on the other side. It was kind of odd, and I was just playing away and just trying to sort of stick with it. But yeah, no, and it was a complete friggin' nightmare and a mess, and I didn't really understand like all the things you can buy, because you can get like buffs and perks and bonuses, and they do this over time and blah blah blah. And there's so many things, dude. Like he's trying to know what the hell you're supposed to do.
Yeah, dude, so, the learning curve on that fucking thing is fucking straight up.
I did have an idea though, Chris, because I thought what I need to do is play a game with you. Obviously not on your like ranked stuff, whatever. And then if I play a support character, I can just support you, and you can say, "This is what I'm doing. This is why I'm doing it. You buy this. You do that." And then we can do a little thing, and then I'll learn through observing.
You're saying this about like maybe 3 or 4 years too late, because I said we should do this on ATG.
You did,
do like a series of like, hey, let's fucking make a Let's Play series. This could be fucking classic.
I'm up for it.
You doing Jonesy things and me doing Chris things, and just it would be great.
But I think we should do it, and I think, or maybe on one of your streams sometime, if you want to do a bit of Dota 2, then maybe I can hop in and be. You can teach me to play a little bit of Dota 2.
Fucking delicious. I would love nothing more. Trust me. I've only really got one other person that I play Dota with, and that's my buddy Paul. And
yeah, of course, yeah.
It would be cool to play some Dota with some other people. Be nice.
I'm definitely up for it because it's a good looking game, and I can see why people get into it. And there's a lot to learn. I'm all about like games that give you ways to play games, and it feels like maybe it's like a chess kind of thing. Like you need to do this and hold this position and play that. And there's probably so many ways you can play one map. I get why people are into it. Like it's why people have been playing chess for thousands of years, right? It's the same kind of deal. But then I needed a little bit of a different thing. A palette cleanser. And in Warzone, I've been really getting into playing sniper classes. But I wanted more. I wanted more sniper. And so I decided to play some Arma 3 to really get, the proper military sim feel for being a sniper. Arma 3.
How old is Arma 3 now? I'm not trying to throw shade on it because Dota's like a 10-year-old
years,
game.
is it? I want to say 7 or 8 years.
Actual arse Arma 3 is 7 years old now. Over 7 years old.
Okay.
So so I hopped into Arma 3, was like, what is going on? Managed to sort my loadout out and was like, right, I'm ready for battle. So I started heading off as you would do in like a Battlefield game or Warzone to the battlefield. It's 4.6 kilometers away. So after about 5 minutes of just walking, I'm like, do you know what? Let me respawn back at the base and get in a car. Couldn't do that. Because I guess you need to have
respawn?
I did at the base, yeah. I respawned.
And there were no cars?
I don't think you can get in them. I think you have to have certain DLC in order to drive like a tank or something. So I had to hang about and wait for someone with a truck to come and pick me up, which they did. And I was telling you guys before the podcast that, 1 kilometer outside of the base, an armed helicopter blew us up on the road toward the battle. And we got out the car. And then it was either a 3 kilometer run to the war front, to the front line, or it was a 1 kilometer run back to the base. So I turned it off. And
welcome to war, Alex Jones.
But I will play some more because I want to get the proper experience, and that was not it.
Yeah,
fair enough.
I feel like that's the kind of game you really need some hardcore players to take you under their wing the first time you're going through it.
Yes, yeah. I'd watched some people play it before, and I was like, oh, this looks cool, like sniping from hills a kilometer away and ghillie suits and crawling, through this stuff. And it looked pretty wicked. And I was like, okay, I want to be a little private.
Wasn't PUBG from Arma 3?
Oh, I would not be surprised if that was a mod.
Or was it from Arma 2?
I don't know. I think maybe it was an Arma 2 mod, like King of the Kill. There was all that kind of stuff, and I'm trying to remember what Brendan Green, particularly his lineage was. I forget.
I think so.
Because there's some H1Z1 background in there as well, but I don't know if that's all from the same place.
Oh, it's Arma 3. So PUBG apparently is a mod for Arma 3.
Yeah.
There you go.
Okay. There we go. Well, hey, if you don't have Arma 3, you don't have PUBG, you don't have PUBG, you don't really have a popularized battle royale, you don't have Warzone.
Exactly. Absolutely, mate. Absolutely.
It's the Kevin Bacon of games.
So Brendan Green had previously created the Arma 2 mod DayZ Battle Royale, which was itself an offshoot of DayZ, which itself was an offshoot of Arma 2 Operation Arrowhead.
There you go.
So it's all pretty incestuous in that scene.
Yeah,
basically what you need to know. Everyone's fucking each other.
Everyone's fucking, baby. All right, nice. Okay.
Well, I must say, even a server that I tried to get into actually on Arma 3, was obviously had been modelled very specifically in order to make you play as certain classes in certain environments. So you can see how it is so broad and open as a game that people then shape it in a way that they want.
Yeah, and people take it really fucking seriously, don't they?
Yes, God, yeah, for sure, yeah.
That's why I really want to see Jonesy on like a role-playing server of some kind.
Yeah, we said it, right? Like RP GTA Online would be fucking great.
One of those GTA role-playing servers that Jonesy would be. Jonesy like RPing as a cop in a GTA server.
Officer Jones.
Quality.
Jonesy, when you get back, you get back to streaming, please, dude, please, you got to do it. I'll
I'm not a cop. I can't roleplay as a cop. I don't know what they say.
That's the whole point.
That's the whole point, dude.
See, I tell you what I could do is after lockdown, I can get my mate who is actually a cop to come and do the talking. That'd be much better.
Jonesy, don't do it the Jonesy way of trying to do it proper, okay? You do it like a dog shit, because that's where the entertainment comes in. You don't go there being a cop. You go there playing as a cop, but is not good at being a cop. That is how it works.
I see.
Like case in point was your what's it called? Flight Simulator stream. which was that you got your dad, an actual pilot, to come onto a stream and watch over you as you went through an entire flight process from, England to Scotland or whatever it was. And yet the single best part of that whole stream was when you took the controls at the end for the landing and almost did a fucking barrel roll upside down onto the runway.
Almost, but didn't. Yeah.
Those passengers were very sick, but they were safe and they got to where they were going.
Oh,
I love it.
That was fun.
Yeah. But yeah. All right, I'll jump in because I've also played Dota 2, not with Jonesy, unfortunately, but just with my friend Paul, having a good time because they released a new patch. I think just after or just before Christmas, was it? Yeah.
What's the latest?
Fucking 7. I don't know.
Like, are they still balancing things in that game? That might sound like a dumb question, but like at some point, if you're balancing a game after 7 years, you didn't balance it that well to begin with.
Well, let me ask you a question. Okay, first of all, have you multi-tiered? I'm not trying to be facetious here. Okay.
Yeah.
Have you ever played a completely balanced game in your life?
No,
because it doesn't exist, right?
Well, I think there are some games that, because when you say balance, you're usually talking about a game that allows you to pick some kind of character or something like that at the beginning of a match. That means that there's different skill sets and abilities and so on and so forth. I was going to say, I think there are some timeless, like, more Street Fighter 2 is just a fighting game that's still played to this day, and it's not like there's a fully broken character in that game. There are preferences, but like it's balanced in a way where everyone has a weakness.
Yeah,
which is games that are struggling with balance at the moment, like Warzone. Jonesy and I have been playing it lately, has been struggling with balance for the last couple of weeks because there's a gun in there that kind of doesn't have a weakness.
Yeah. So I think there are close to balanced games out there for sure. I mean, there must be a reason why Smash Bros. Melee is still fucking played to this day, example. Right? Yeah. But look at it from Dota's perspective, where they are constantly and not just Dota, I mean League of Legends, whatever. They're constantly adding in new characters, and let's say you get the game to a perfect level of balance. As soon as you introduce another element, a new item, a new character, whatever, it just throws everything out of whack, right?
Oh, true. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, like unintended consequences and how it. For sure.
But then there's another aspect to it where I think they've realized that having a perfectly balanced game isn't actually fun, right?
Oh yeah, for sure.
You want some of that unbalancedness so that you could have unpredictability in your games, because that's where a lot of enjoyment comes in. Is from, I don't know what's going to happen in this game. It's not like.
Well, a real world example, right? Like Formula One. Formula One is far too balanced, and it means that you end up with a boring race because everyone finishes where they qualified, and then nothing really exciting happens, and so you have to introduce.
Isn't Formula One boring because it's unbalanced in a predictable way?
Yeah, but I would say that's kind of the same thing, right? Because you don't have.
No, because like Formula 2 is balanced where like they're all in the exact same car.
But I think, Formula One is like they're all such good drivers. I think that you would effectively have qualifying, and then everyone would just kind of finish where they qualified. If you never had like, what do you call it, like the electric motor boosting, if you didn't have like DRM, ERS, if you didn't have any of that stuff to just like throw it out of whack a little bit, it would be so dull.
Yeah,
because there was. I think the difference with Formula 2 is the drivers are the different factor because they're not the pinnacle of drivers.
Whereas in Formula 1, it's more the manufacturers and stuff.
I guess we're still going to get the same thing, right? Which is like what you were going to say. I guess it goes back to what Chris was saying about Dota, which is that you almost need unpredictability to create excitement.
Yeah. Also, you got another thing to consider. The final thing I'll mention about that too that you got to consider. The game's been out for what, like fucking 11 years? If they got to a state of balance 6 years ago, let's say, who's gonna continue playing it?
Yeah,
everyone. A small subset of people who would enjoy that balance, but it's not really going to be like. You need to keep adding stuff, which in turn would constantly unbalance the game, and then you need to constantly try and balance it, and then
I find weird about Dota. The fact you can like play games where you can ban certain heroes.
Yeah.
I thought was really interesting because I didn't realize you could do that because I don't like to play that person, so I'll ban them. It almost reminds me of if you play like COD and people say no shotguns.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
I'm like, why? Is that just because you want to be shooting someone mid-range with an assault rifle and you don't like it when people run up and shoot you with a shotgun? It's like, that doesn't make sense.
Brian Lara Cricket, no Yorkers. That was one I've actually had to do before. I remember the guy's name. He was Patrick and he was Irish. And if you bowled it anywhere near the batsman's feet, you were disqualified.
That's so funny to me because it's like you play a game that you purposefully remove an aspect of you don't like because you want to be good at the game in the way you like.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
It's so odd to me. But do you know what? I played Dota 2 and I was like, do you know what? I was completely wrong when I said there's I didn't say there was none, but I said that the games like Warzone and like how quick you can aim and shoot and stuff is a different skill set, and Dota is more of a technical thing. I didn't realize there was the level of skill in how to use a certain character's powers and stuff in order to react in a certain way. Like some dude was wrecking our whole team because he was some bloke who could shoot a grabby hand, drag you out of battle, and like shoot you from at point blank or hit you with an axe at like point blank.
I think you were playing Overwatch.
I didn't know, Chris. I don't know what the character's name would be, but do you know?
Was it Pudge?
He was basically Roadhog, but I don't know. Without a shotgun,
Pudge.
yeah.
It's Pudge, yeah.
Right. So and he was doing it so well to our whole team.
We've got to move on from Dota 2, but very quickly, the banning aspect of it when you're watching Dota 2.
I'd fucking ban Pudge if I played it again.
a lot of pub people do, but in competitive like esports, it's so interesting watching how they draft because the whole drafting takes like 10 minutes. Because what they do is they're like, okay, who are we up against? What is their core pool of heroes that they're really good at?
Right.
And how can we disrupt them? So it's almost like an additional layer of strategy before they even start playing the game. And it's like, oh, well, if we ban that character or if we pick that character for ourselves, then they can't pick it. And then how are they going to react and all of that? So it's kind of like the mind games before you get into the match. It's really cool. But
it's very, very, very technical and it is daunting. I'm not going to lie. I found it very daunting.
Like imagine if in Warzone you say, what's the overpowered gun? DMR.
It was the DMR, yeah. Prior to today as a recording.
Yeah, sure. So you say, okay, let's say that they had a system where only one player, all right, on a team can have a DMR. Or you could just ban the DMR outright.
Well...
Do you know what I mean? So it adds that additional kind of layer of complexity, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, they're all interesting things, interesting ways of combating that stuff. I guess it's just, when I think of balance, I think about this really idealistic situation where every single thing that you could want to do was theoretically viable. And like you go back to Warzone, I remember playing with you guys in some of the early days, and I think the gun you both gravitated towards, ironically, it has almost been meta at points since then, but was the FAL.
Yeah.
And at the time, I remember thinking, like, these guys really need to be using, like, an M4A1 or the Kilo or the Grau or something like that. Or I think the Bruin was also pretty meta
You know what the best thing is, though, Jamie?
But I was going to say, it would be cool if we could get to a point where, like, Josie says, I want to run the FAL. And I said, yeah, of course. The Falcon is good against anything.
Yeah, FAL is viable.
Because everything's viable.
But the thing you forget about when we played Warzone was that the FAL was the only thing that Jonesy and I had unlocked.
Well,
for me, the FAL was from playing COD multiplayer. So there was a time, so it was a hangover from, because I like single...
Which COD multiplayer do you remember?
It was the one with Nuketown.
That's a lot of Call of Duty.
The first one with Nuketown.
Probably Black Ops then.
Yeah.
So that I used to run the FAL in that, and it almost felt like I imagine what people say the DMR is now. Like it just seemed to work really well. Didn't have much recoil, and in like 2 shots, it felt like you could take people down. I just had a really good time with it. Maybe it was kind of a bit squiffy then, like it was slightly.
I just had a really good time with it. I like that.
Because you know when you suddenly use a gun and you're like, wow, this works, and then you just get to it. But
happens.
I had this the other day with the M4 in Warzone with a different scope. I can't remember what the scope it is, but
the VLK 3 times optic.
Yes, because as Jamie was telling me, one of the reasons I probably like it is that it reduces recoil. I'm like, yeah, that's wicked. And I've been having a lot more success with it, and so suddenly I'm now like, right, I'm really into that gun, so I'm sticking with that. I know what I'm doing. And I think that's why. The FAL for me was one that I carried over from earlier games, but it was definitely not as effective in Warzone as maybe it had been in some of the earlier ones.
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
Yeah. All right. Well, look, moving on from Dota 2, the only other game that, well, I mean, in recent, I know it's been a while since I've been on this podcast, but recently has been Cyberpunk 2077. I've been kind of chipping away at that. Not a lot of time sunk into it. It's things have been a bit crazy at home, so finding time to play games has really been very much squirrel gaming.
Yeah,
playing that game, it's not that I'm finding it hard or a slog to kind of get into. I'm just not finding it all that interesting. Not that it's bad, okay? I still think it's a good game at its core, but the more I play it, the more it that overarching sense, and I've mentioned it before, of just feeling empty and hollow as a game.
Is it? Do you think it's the main story, or is it the side stuff, or it's the world in general? Is what feels hollow?
I think just everything, dude.
Like, everything. Fair enough.
you know, for lack of a better word, like all those NPCs are there for nothing. There's no point to it. And what I've really tried to be doing this time around that I've been playing is a criticism that I had of the game was like everything just boils down to fucking DPS numbers, and I don't necessarily like the importance that they've put on the DPS, or seemingly the importance that they put on the DPS, right? So the DPS values on your weapons. So what I've really been trying to do is actually focus on what constitutes and what makes up all that equipment that I've got, rather than just devolving it into like that's a high DPS and that's a high armor rating and boom, done. So I'm trying to get a little bit nitty grittier into it. I'm trying to focus more on that kind of stuff. I'm trying to focus on builds rather than this is the highest value number I can get. And it's okay, but it just doesn't it just doesn't feel RPG-ish enough for me. And I know I'm probably being like an RPG snob when I say that, and I know a lot of people have really enjoyed it. A lot of people on our Discord have finished the game and really getting into it, and I am enjoying it, but at the same time, I'm just kind of coasting. I don't know how else to put it. Like, I know I'm sounding a little
fair,
bit
man. From
against
what
myself.
But I think a lot of stuff that I've seen and I've read, I can like I've stopped playing it in the moment because I want to I want to wait for some patches to come out, and hope we'll talk about it in a bit, but I'm waiting for sort of the January, February patches to come out before I sort of have another crack at the whip.
Yeah.
But I think we were talking about this earlier, but RPGs, we forgive them for a lot of stuff because of what they are and how in depth they are and how you can get into them and how you can work on your character and how you can do builds and how you can. So if you take away some of those elements, you then suddenly feel like I can see why people seem to feel like there's not much here. Because if you can't get into the depth of that stuff, then you can't really forgive the stuff we usually forgive in a Bethesda game. Like, because why am I paying the price for some jank here when I'm not getting the stuff that I want over there? So I think it's fair enough.
Yeah, and like I was mentioning to you guys before we hit record, is I love Bethesda. I give them the benefit of the doubt all the time. I don't care about how janky their games are because they are so enthralling to me. I get in those worlds and I just want to fucking go wild and explore. I get into Night City and I'm like, I don't know where to go. And even if I went somewhere, like there's not going to be anything there for me. Like, what I want to do is I want to climb onto a rooftop and there's a fucking chest there or whatever. And in there's a cool fucking gun or a cool piece of armor, but it's not. It's just a fucking dildo. Like, okay,
literally a spiky dildo.
Do you know what I mean? Like you could be in a Skyrim or a Fallout. Okay, let's say Fallout because it's maybe a little bit more like cities and cities, right, rather than like meadows and shit. Okay, so I could be in Fallout 4 in Boston, whatever, and I could look down the horizon and or in a city or down a street or whatever, and see an interesting looking building, and I know that if I go in there, there will be something interesting to see in that interesting looking place. It's something interesting to see or something interesting to do. Like, for instance, 2 skeletons in a bathtub, like blowing each other or something, right? Or there's going to be a cool enemy in there, or there's going to be a cool weapon or a cool piece of armor. In Cyberpunk, that doesn't necessarily exist. There might be a cool looking building, but that's all it is. Just a cool looking building.
I know what you mean. Although I have this, and I know I kind of get why people say it, but I think that one of the issues they've done with Cyberpunk is everything is labeled. And the problem when everything is labeled is it doesn't feel like you're discovering it. Because I've had loads of encounters in Cyberpunk where it's been really cool, like very well written, little nuanced side things that are kind of, I think, like you're saying, where you see something interesting. Like, for example, you go through a building and you take some dudes out and you're there to go into a computer and scan it, but then you see someone who's been cut open on a table and had their organs removed, and then you're like, wow, these pieces of shit are like organ harvesters. And then I'm right, I'm going loud, and I pull out my assault rifle and I start blowing fools away, because then I don't feel bad about wrecking the joint, because I'm like, these are pieces of shit.
But see, this is weird, because that sounds cool, but I haven't really experienced that, so
But it's often, I think it's always labelled in Cyberpunk as a side mission, as a place to go and do it. And so I feel the level of discovery feels diminished.
Yeah, I don't know.
Which is an issue, maybe.
It's in terms of that kind of thing, of how I'm enjoying it, but how I'm also kind of like just coasting. It's such a fascinating game. And that kind of pushes me to kind of carry on. Do you know what I mean? Like, all right, is this going to change? Am I going to feel the same? Like, what other kind of dichotomies am I going to see in this game? Like, it's interesting. It's very interesting. But fellas, that might be a good kind of jumping off point, 49 minutes into the podcast, to go into our first bit of news, which is actually about CD Projekt Red and Cyberpunk. Surprise, surprise.
Boom.
Straight into it.
Can't keep them out of the news these days.
Like professionals.
For once, positive, yeah? Like, reasonably positive.
Yeah, I mean, a positive spin on a negative thing.
Relatively positive.
A positive thing that never should have had to have happened to begin with.
But relatively positive then. Let's say that.
Right. So
but that's like saying if I come out and apologise for being a murderer, you'd be going, positive. He's apologising. Think about it. He's taking action. He's taking responsibility.
Can we
I'm
go?
Just sat here going, probably shouldn't have murdered anyone to begin with.
Yeah. Can we go more like, you punched me in the face, but then you were kind enough to wrap some peas in a tea towel, put it on my face, and go, look, man, I'm sorry I punched you. It's more like
everyone.
No, I punched you in the face because a fly landed on your cheek. I'm doing a good job. I'm a friend.
Okay.
That works. All right.
Did you get the fly?
We've all been punched in the face. Let's see what the peas are, I guess.
All right. But yeah, okay. So CD Projekt Red have kind of pulled back the curtain, as it were, in kind of a mea culpa, as for lack of a better word. They're basically
what language is that? Latin.
Yeah.
Cheeky Latin.
Check out the big brain on Chris.
Hell yeah. Well, you're the one who fucking studied Latin or some shit.
I did Latin GCSE.
Well, there you go.
Jamie speaks fluent Latin.
It literally means nothing. Like GCSEs are, yeah.
Can I tell you something, Jamie? It's a whole GCSE worth of Latin more than I have.
Yeah, because you didn't do GCSEs. If you had done GCSEs, you probably would have a Latin GCSE. Like, I've got a geography GCSE. I don't know anything about an oxbow. What's an oxbow lake? I don't know.
I like how you've gone all like fucking...
I think I know what an oxbow lake is. I think I know what an oxbow lake.
I do know what an oxbow lake
is. Can I put it out there, Jamie? And you can tell me if I'm right.
Yeah.
Is it where you get where a river's meandered and you get like a curvy bit, and then over time it's closed up the river, so you end up with just a lake, which is like a bit of a curve of a meander?
Yeah, it's like if you imagine a river that's meandering to the point it like loops back on itself, almost creates a little circle in the middle. Right. Like that's an oxbow lake.
Wow.
Come on. Geography.
And then longshore drift is that like when the tide goes in and out, it's not going straight in and out. It's like going up and then back to the side and up and back to the side. So things are actually being drifting along the shore rather than just...
Oh, weird.
That's why if like you throw something out into the sea and it's like caught up in the tide, it won't just like come back and forth in front of you. It will slowly drift to the left or the right. That's longshore drift.
All right, I got two terms for you. Okay, this is turning into a quiz.
Welcome to the geography hour.
Yeah, this is the geography corner. Welcome. Make yourself at home. All right, fellas. Insulation. What does it stand? What is it? Conjunctifying.
Insulation.
Insolation.
Insolation.
I have no idea.
Insolation.
And here
insole, like putting an insole in your shoe.
In geography,
as in like the station. So it's the station you go to get your insoles put in your shoe.
Is it something to do with rain?
I thought you did geography GCSE. It's incoming solar radiation. Insolation.
I didn't do it for GCSE.
Well, you didn't have insolation.
Well, to be fair, there's no fucking sun coming on fucking London
in the
at the
UK.
moment.
Yeah.
All right, here's another one. Katabatic winds. Explain. What are they?
Katabatic
winds.
It's where it's so strong that it blows away cats and bats.
No. Jamie, care to have a...
Give me the word one more time. Can you use it in a sentence, please?
Okay, katabatic wins. All right, and in a sentence, I am feeling really fucking cold right now. It must be these damn katabatic winds.
It's I don't know. They're winds that come from a certain place that makes them colder as usual.
Yes, kind of. So it's winds that form from the top of a valley going down the escarpment.
There you go.
The escarpment as well.
Escarpment.
There you go.
Hey,
Caecilius est in horto. Caecilius is in the garden. Let's crack on.
I love it. Hey, this is what people come for. All 5 of them. At this point, if you're still here, drop a comment and let us know that hey, I'm
drop
still here.
Latin.
And if there's more than 5, drop a like.
No, I said some Latin.
Drop some Latin.
Drop some Latin in the comment section.
Wow.
Drop some Latin.
Oh my goodness.
Right. So, God. Okay, I'm thrown now. Okay. Yeah. So,
I've just seen a quality headline. Sorry, on Twitter. It's just thrown me.
Okay. Yeah. Go
Can
ahead.
I share it with you?
Please.
This is the New York Times. Jobless women selling nudes on OnlyFans are struggling to pay bills. Let's just leave that there.
Well,
this depresses me actually because I was getting ready to set up my OnlyFans.
I tell you why it is because Belle Delphine has taken all of the scratch from OnlyFans. She's getting all of it.
Do you know what? I heard an estimated figure from about what she earns. The other day.
Yeah, from that video.
I heard no, someone else from another source that I won't disclose. Sure. I heard $1 million a month. $1 million a month.
A month.
$1 million a month.
I heard $1 million a month.
Dildo balls pay well.
Make of that what you will.
Wow.
Make of that what you will.
The dildo ball freaked me out a little bit. It was a scary
I don't know what a
thing.
dildo. Oh, someone told. Was it you that told me about that?
Maybe I saw a picture.
In fact, of course, was the only person I know that gives me fucking Belle Delphine updates.
I think she's a she's a very
subscribe to Jonesy's RSS feed about Belle Delphine.
She's because other people share stuff with me about her, and one of the things someone shared the other day was a screenshot of a video. I guess it was a video, maybe it was just a picture, but it was like a yoga ball that had like dildos glued all over it.
Wow!
And I was like, that's terrifying. And then she was bouncing up and down on like a space hopper. It's like an adult space hopper.
Nice. I like it. I mean, what? No. Guys, look, can we just fucking talk about CD Projekt Red?
Sorry, let's do it.
Why are you guys got to be such dick boys all the time?
Yeah, I know.
For fuck's sake, I didn't get involved.
All right, so CD Projekt Red, fellas. Surprise, surprise, Cyberpunk. Basically, one of the main dudes in charge, I forget his name, it's some Polish name. Marcin, yeah. He went on a video and kind of said, hey, we know we fucked up, this is how we fucked up, and this is what we're doing to kind of fix it, which is thumbs up there. As we say, it shouldn't have gotten to this point in the first place, but it is good that it's happening because you know what? They didn't need to do this, right? I think enough people are okay with the game and the trickle of changes that are coming through that people are like, yeah, whatever.
I don't know though, because there's still a lot of talk about, class action lawsuits and investors being really annoyed, and I know what you're saying, but I kind of think that maybe this was a smart play by them. Maybe they didn't need to do it, but I think transparency and honesty at this point is the way forward for them.
Yeah,
like 100%.
Although, as we can get into when we review kind of what he said and the questions he answered, I still think there are a few things that have gone unaccounted for that I would have liked to have seen acknowledged.
Oh,
100%,
yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
So basically, it was like a 5-minute video featuring the company's co-founder and, just explaining what happened, especially as how it relates to what are now older gen consoles, so your PS4s, your Xbox Ones. I don't know. He was basically, it's what we touched on earlier, but he was saying that the genre itself, it's complex, right? Like, it takes a lot to make these kinds of RPGs. Bethesda are maybe the best in the business, and look how fucking janky their games are.
Yeah,
sure. And what he implied was that they focused on making the game look, quote unquote, his words, epic on PCs before approaching the console version, which it's not necessarily the worst way of going about making games, especially if you are a PC forward company. Mm-hmm. They're not going to be the first. They're not going to be the last.
You've got to think that's incredibly common to make games like that.
Yeah, but little did they realize that the task at hand was a lot more difficult than they thought it was. So I'm just going to read this because it's a little bit kind of mumbo jumbo to me because I'm not a fucking game developer. But the main culprit apparently was in-game streaming systems that had to constantly be improved to feed the engine with what you see on screen. So I guess it's kind of like when you talk about pop-in and all that stuff, that's this in-game streaming system, right?
Yeah, big focus on the visual side of sort of what went wrong with these old-gen consoles, which I know is what a lot of people were most critical of when it came to them especially. Yeah. So it kind of makes sense.
Yeah. And I think they were saying, okay, fine, COVID was a fucking factor. Get over it. Stop using it as a fucking excuse. You're not the only game devs that had COVID to deal with and release a game. But anyway, whatever. They also released an FAQ kind of explaining, what about when are you going to fix the next gen patches, blah, blah, blah. But what's really interesting is for the first time, they actually showed off a roadmap of what they've done and what's to come. So we've been getting hot fixes up to this point with an actual patch coming out in January, right? And another 1.2 patch coming out in February. So 1.1 in Jan, 1.2 in February. Prior to this, I think we're on like 1.07 as a hot fix.
6. 1.06 we're on at the moment.
Yeah. Then they also spoke about the rumored DLC and the next-gen console updates and kind of gave ballpark areas where they're going to be coming in. So previously we'd heard that DLC was going to be coming. A lot of these news outlets are like, Cyberpunk DLC is coming sooner than you think. And we were like, but what does DLC mean if it's coming soon rather than later and etc.? So what they have said is that they've pushed the DLC back slightly to focus on patches and fixes, which is good stuff. That's what it should be. The next-gen console update, however, has been slated for the second half of 2021.
Which is... I don't think anyone could be surprised by how far away that is, but I think they will be disappointed, Jonesy being amongst them.
Yeah.
Do you know what? I actually thought that this was the time it probably would come. My perspective used to be that it would probably hit like March or so, if you're talking like 6 months ago. But then obviously after they did the number of delays and we were talking about a lot of issues they had, I started to worry more and more about that it was going to get bumped further back. But in the last, since it came out and since they've had all the issues, I assumed it would be the latter half of 2021. So to have that confirmed as in at the moment, that's what they're saying. That's not surprising, to be fair, because they've got so much work to do between now and then, right?
Yeah, exactly.
It's just, it makes you wonder that the DLC that they're talking about. So we speculated that the first DLC would be like haircuts, etc., like in The Witcher. And I still think that to be true. And I think that could relatively come in with the patch itself. Who knows? But it almost feels that like some of the game systems that should have been in the game, they're just like, nah, you know what? We'll just release it as DLC later. Don't worry about it now. Just get it working on a fucking PlayStation 4, please.
That does happen quite a lot. Like, it's maybe not an unfair game to compare it to based on sort of the level of sort of visual fidelity issues, but also bug and sort of fixes that were needed. But Mafia 3 was another game that really blurred the line between what's free DLC and what's an update, because that was a game that added character customization and changing your clothes after release. Added car customization and sort of like a garage of cars you can keep after release. And I think at the time they were referring to them as updates, which almost seems like more of an acknowledgement of like, hey, this is stuff that maybe should have been there because it was in Mafia 2. And now we're doing it. Look, guys, everyone.
Yeah, but you can't be angry with us because it's here now.
Yeah, and it's free. Whereas like DLC sounds a bit... DLC, as we were kind of saying the other week, right, it always sounds like the cherry on top. Yeah. It always sounds like you've got the base game. The base game is damn near complete. And now we're building off from that base. And it's not always the case. Yeah. But I still think that's what I wanted it to be in the case of Cyberpunk.
Yeah.
I hope basically I'm saying I hope they don't give themselves too big a pat on the back for things that almost felt missing to begin with being added back in.
Yeah.
See, I'm in a weird position because was mentioned this on our Discord the other day, but if they said like it's hairstyles and stuff like that, then that would make me think, well, then they have to add in barbers and stuff like that, which would be a really big deal for Cyberpunk because it's missing. And so I'd feel a lot happier about that as a thing you could do than in The Witcher.
But they probably just added to the Ripper docs though, Jonesy.
No, but I mean just the act of being able to do it, because you can't do it at all at the moment in the game. So it would be whereas Witcher, like if you said, "Oh, we've added in a ponytail," you're like, "Oh, so now when I go and get my hair done, I've got a different thing I can do." In this, it would be adding in, as Jamie just said, something that should have been in the game already.
Okay,
so it would feel bigger. It would feel more of a an addition to the game in and of itself.
Yeah,
I don't know. I don't know why, but I just get the feeling that it will not be that sort of thing, and the free DLC will include at least some story stuff, some side quests, something like that, because it would be very easy to just tack on some almost small narrative things that weren't in the main game, and they say, now you can go here, speak to this new what they've been called, people that give you the jobs, and then they go, here's fixers, and they give you a little arc to follow and to go back through Night City. I feel like that'd be such an easy addition. I could absolutely see that as being some free DLC.
But you see, and maybe I'm the minority in this, but I hope, at least for the initial ones, like what I want to see them release as DLC is not necessarily like more content. There's so much fucking content in that game. I want them to release systems.
Yeah, I agree. That's what I want to see. Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like I want more dynamic systems. I want more interactivity. Like there's no mini games in this.
But that's where you get into
where's
a thing
where's the Gwent?
Well,
you can go to a pachinko place and you can't play pachinko. Like it's so odd.
Add it in.
Even the BD thing, the BD stuff has to get added in. You can buy brain dances in the game.
Yeah.
Like they're offered for sale. You can't do anything with them. You get given headsets by people, and they're irrelevant outside of giving you armor stats. Like they need to have that as a functional thing that you can go and do. I'm going to say it. They need more hookers.
They do.
Like they've got
that's
one.
exactly what that world needs for more personality, is more sex-related stuff.
No, but they just. Do you know what it feels like to me? It's almost like a kick in the face, because at least with things like haircuts and barbers or whatever, it's not even there. But the three things that feel like a kick in the teeth are: there's one male hooker, one female hooker, right, in the whole game. There are brain dances, but you can only do them in the missions, and they're a little bit kind of. They're okay, but you want to be able to do some just for fun. And then you've got the Ripper Doc animation is the only one that I've had so far, is when you get the very first one in your eye, and then it's some crappy menu that you go into. But because they tease you with all of that stuff and then don't deliver later in the game, it feels slightly worse.
It's like romances as well. There's like, I think only like 2 romances or some shit from what I've been reading.
I don't know.
I think some are male only and some are female only as well, which might blur the lines.
Like you'd think, like just fucking. I mean, Geralt would fuck anything with legs. So
True.
You know,
I think that stuff's all possible, but I guess to go back to the kind of which side of the argument we were talking about originally, to me, systems feel like updates, and content, like authored content, feels like DLC.
Yeah. So if it's narrative,
it's just the way my brain works.
So if it's narrative, story stuff, authored content, then I win the bet.
Well, authored content can come under other brackets as well, like. If they did a thing where the first batch of what they called free DLC was like 20 new items of clothing and 10 new weapons, that could also feel like DLC in my mind, I guess. Yeah, I think you've got a lot of ways of winning that bet. Even if I will get out ahead of it and say, even if you win on like based on the minutiae of what we're talking about, like the semantics of it, I think what Chris and I were talking about is that summer seems too early for like an expansion. Like when you talk about The Witcher 3's DLC and how good The Witcher 3's DLC was, no one's talking about the hairstyles. They're talking about blood and wine or about and all that stuff. And I think Cyberpunk's the same. When we talk in loose terms about Cyberpunk DLC, we think about those, CD Projekt Red's trademark expansions, and not, there's a time they added 5 guns to the game.
I would agree. I would say that I agree with you that adding weapons and stuff, even if it was 20 weapons and 5, I would say that's not good enough. Like that's not what I want. But then, weirdly, I want the game to be in its best position it possibly can be before the expansion DLC arrives, because I don't want people
bring the
to
systems first. Because
we should say, I guess I think we made this clear, but just in case anyone's lost track. The updates roadmap specifically calls it free DLCs.
It does.
So there is no paid content, no paid DLC, which those expansions definitely will be coming before. I mean, at this point, coming before even this entire year, according to their current roadmap, which is probably the right move based on what you were just saying, Jose.
I don't want to trigger.
And then there's the multiplayer as well, still to look forward to.
Oh, fucking sack it off! Just put it in the bin, Chris.
Yeah, sack it off at the moment anyway.
Might as well.
I don't want to trigger people that Star Citizen people like myself, but I think we're all a little bit jaded by the appearance of roadmaps by this point, given the absolute shit show that they had with their roadmap that turned out to be just letters on a screen, didn't mean anything.
The Anthem roadmap worked out so well. I mean, like the trajectory that video games are going on with roadmaps at the moment is phenomenal.
Yeah, we're all playing Anthem 2.0, right?
Exactly.
What's brilliant about their roadmap as well? I'm not calling them out for. I'm sure this is what they intend, and they're genuinely trying to give like an idea. But if you look at it, right, so it's a timeline that has no sort of delineation with regard to like months or weeks or anything like that. Then there's just a hashed out block that says multiple updates and improvements with 2 random lines coming off of it that says free DLC, free next gen console update. And you basically know that's going to come after patch 1.2.
You know what that image screams to me, okay? It especially running ATG, it screams to me, oh, we've done all of this, but we forgot to make a fucking roadmap, guys. We've got 5 minutes. Who knows Photoshop?
See, I go the other way. I think it's like, if we draw it out, people will believe it's more official than it really is. When in reality, they're like, we have no idea when any of this stuff is coming.
I think I can't remember which view it was, but one of us said before we started recording that all this roadmap really says is that January patch is coming out when we knew it would. February patch is coming out when we knew it would. There's going to be a free DLC and a next-gen console update by the end of the year. Yeah. And that's it.
Yeah,
and we just have to assume they're going to keep improving the game alongside that stuff.
There is something to be said for Blizzard's almost done when it, what do they say? It's
like done when it's done.
It's ready. It's ready when it's done, kind of thing. Where it's like, hey, we're not going to give you any fucking release
Well,
date.
you know what's awkward about that is that's exactly what CD Projekt Red said about Cyberpunk. It's at the end of one of their trailers.
It is. Yeah, you're right. Actually,
and then
the next trailer they released is like, hey, fucking April or March or whatever.
Yeah, it's like, hey, we've flown Keanu out to LA. Can we give him something to say on stage? Just tell him April. Just tell him April.
And then he goes, check this out. Yeah. Anyway.
What an iconic moment.
Can I make a prediction now?
We were so happy sat on that sofa, Chris.
Oh, yeah. Well, it was fucking blew my mind, man.
Let me make a little prediction.
I'm
going to say the next-gen console update does not come in 2021.
Oh,
I can believe it.
I would take that. I'd take the bet against you if you're interested.
The reason I'm saying that, do you know,
$2,000.
No,
jeez.
My track record of bets, no way. The reason I say that is because in my head, I'm like, we've already talked about the fact that after patch 1.2, they're not going to be where people want them to be. Because you're not going to be able to make everyone happy, but they have to get a certain percentage happy. I don't think patch 1.2 reaches that point for base PlayStation 4 users and Xbox users. I think.
Sure.
Which I think is going to be an issue. I can then see maybe them saying, "Hey, look, we're going to do something else for those people." And I just think that messes up their schedule a little bit. Like, it's between getting the next gen console updates.
Man, they got a big job ahead of them. But you know what? I'd like Cyberpunk to succeed. So
of course,
do what you got to do.
I'd love us to sit at whatever podcast we do this time next year and say, you know what, everything went down the way it went down, and not a lot of it was good, and there's a lot of reasons for people to have been angry or upset or have wanted refunds and got refunds and so on and so forth. But at least in the end, we all got to play eventually a version of Cyberpunk that was somewhat representative of the game we all hoped it would be. That would be a nice way to end the story.
Yeah.
As long as we didn't sweep any other stuff under the rug. I'm not suggesting that's what they did today, but like, he specifically addressed the lack of availability of review codes for the previous gen console versions of the game and talked about how they were making such big improvements day to day that like literally going even 1 or 2 days early on that stuff could have jeopardized the experiences people got, and that they legitimately felt like that day zero patch was going to get that game, in the place it needed to be. I don't believe them. I think that's a very convenient thing to be able to say.
You can't believe them, right? Because look how we're a month away. from release.
Well, exactly. Like if your day-on-day improvement was so good to the point where like you couldn't shift the review date at all because of how much improvement you're making. Exactly, Chris. Like we're already however far away from it we are, and like look at what those hotfixes. Some people felt those hotfixes literally did nothing. I mean, it's not strictly speaking true, but that's what they felt like to some people.
Yeah.
But also, like, if you're struggling getting the console version to where it needs to be, and you are making improvements day to day on that 0-day update, put all the faith you want in that 0-day update. Tell people about the 0-day update. Don't fucking like take down videos that are trying to show people what this game is like unpatched.
Right.
People are going to play this fucking game unpatched. There's some guy out in the outback in Australia who's still on dial-up at 27 kilobytes a second and is just going to buy the physical retail version of Cyberpunk. And
shout out to Krail.
That's that. Like, there you go. Shout out to Krail. Like, you're like, yeah, I don't know. There's a lot they didn't. That's sort of skimming the surface of the stuff they didn't really.
I got a question for you.
Touch on. Yeah, go for it.
Do you think so? I mean, all versions were kind of balked, right? But obviously, PC version was a lot less balked than PS4 and Xbox One.
Yeah.
Do you think it would have served them better to say, "Hey guys, actually, console versions need more time. Console versions are delayed by a month. PC gets released." Do you think that would have been a good idea or a bad idea?
I'm going to say, like, compared to the situation they ended up in, good idea.
Yeah, I guess so.
Would it have been a huge joke and a big meme if there was another delay around that game in any way, shape, or form? Absolutely. Half the internet would have been
but
on fire.
rather have the meme and the jokes than the fucking death threats, right?
Like, the further away from this we get, the easier it is to sort of compartmentalize it and absorb everything that happened and kind of absorb the blow of where CD Projekt Red are in a lot of our hearts and minds. But it's very hard at this stage to underestimate just how big a situation this was for weeks, it felt like.
Yeah.
And I don't doubt at all that something CD Projekt Red would have wanted to avoid at all costs. Especially if, in your scenario, if we say that maybe delaying the previous gen console versions or just all the console versions of that game gave them more time to work on the PC version, then even better. Because then you've just got a very buggy, glitchy game that every major outlet still gave a 9 out of 10, only to get too scared to put it on their Game of the Year lists fucking 3 weeks later because they caved into internet bullies.
Yeah.
You heard it here first.
Wow, mic drop. Fucking hell.
I mean, genuinely,
you're not wrong. You're not wrong.
I started doing the rounds because 1 second, every fucking journalist in the world, and not just every journalist, but a lot of YouTubers as well, were out there being like, guys, yes, it's buggy, it's not what it needs to be, but this is a sensational experience. This is a one-of-a-kind game. This game is really fucking something. And then 2 weeks later, like, Game of the Year video time, everyone get your Game of the Year content ready, and everyone's a bit like, ugh. How about Immortals Phoenix Rising, huh? It's better than I thought it was going to be.
that to me...
Let me tell you why Hades is my Game of the Year, and I've never heard of Cyberpunk 2077.
Jonesy, before you start, can I interject you? Are we safe? Did we do that? I don't
we
think
didn't
we did.
We didn't do Game of the Year content.
Well, no, we didn't.
So,
but like
we also never said it was. We had never said we would have given it like a 9.5. It was amazing.
Yeah,
we absolutely loved it. It was incredible, sort of thing.
I think
there are people.
I think we are always quite level-headed with what we try and kind of give. We don't do art and art reviews, but when we try and kind of give our take on games, I always feel we're kind of level-headed with it, and don't get swept up too much in the hype or the zeitgeist feeling of it. So like, oh, the internet's on fire and Reddit hates it, kind of thing, you know.
I think that I think that a lot of those reviews from the games media was scummy. Like I think that's it absolutely was. Like, how else can we view that?
I think it's scummy, but I think also, like, if I put myself in their shoes, they didn't know what they were in the middle of. They were playing the PC version of a game that they were having a very good time with, because what major reviewer for a major outlet isn't playing Cyberpunk 2077 on an RTX 3090 and having a great time with all settings on max and ray tracing? They couldn't see the previous gen version consoles. The previous gen console versions of blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
But, like, you can't comment on what you can't see other than to say, hey, we haven't seen this yet, which, to be fair, a lot of them did say that. But also, like, reviews are this weird thing where no one wants to be caught behind, apart from the people who can afford to be. And especially on the front line, like the major like outlets, the IGNs, the GameSpots, the editors and the people in charge, the people running those sites, you can't go to them and say, how about we delay the biggest traffic article of the year for a week just to make sure this other version of the game is okay. They'd be like, no, motherfucker, call it a review in progress if you have to. But you're publishing that article the second the embargo drops because we need those fucking clicks. And that's how it works for a lot of people. And I think in those moments, you just go on what is happening in front of you. And we saw that because the people that didn't, in the immediate aftermath, Callie Blaggy at GameSpot, 7 out of 10, no fucker on fucking planet Earth had played it, and she got chewed out. And like a week later, everyone was like, oh, she was right. She's right. Yeah.
But that's what I mean. Like for me, and you like,
yeah.
I think the problem.
Someone's out there drinking right now, Jamie.
But the issue, my real issue though, is to put two together to what you guys have just been saying about like, should they have delayed the console versions, and should they have come out and waited for the console versions in order to their reviews? I don't believe if this was a PC only release, I just still don't believe the reviews that were out for PC versions, because as an RPG,
because it's bullshit. Because the systems were broken,
exactly,
Josie, or are broken,
exactly.
Because it doesn't matter. Okay, so you don't have potato face glitches or whatever, but it's still like the game. Jamie, to your point, if you're running on a 3090 and it's looking super crisp with like no frame rate drops and no stutters, that's all fine and well. But the game is still hollow in itself.
You're lacking a lot of elements that you need in an RPG.
I agree, but this is just one of the things that fucking like bogs my mind sometimes about games. No one was saying that shit like for a long time. It felt like there was a huge wave of people, and I'm not just talking about reviewers, I'm talking about consumers too, who were so swept up in Cyberpunk and in Night City and in that story that like it took a little while before people started saying that shit. And that's why people like Callie Blaggy, who ridiculed like either some of the flawed systems or the systems she felt like she didn't need to use, she was literally the laughing stock of the internet for days. Like your boy the Quartering was making a joke about how she didn't play or interact with some of the systems because she didn't like them. Now fucking 3 or 4 weeks later, we're all like, yeah, it turns out you didn't need to use the fucking crafting system in Cyberpunk, a game which you two have stopped playing before you've even finished it. Like no one, like it's fucking crazy.
I still think that to admit, I think what she did was she came across quite badly in that 40-minute video that she did. But I now think she basically misspoke, because I think what she said, because I watched the whole thing and I thought at the time she said, I didn't do that because I just didn't really want to. And she said like about a couple of things. Oh, I didn't go and do those cop missions because I didn't, I don't really want to help the police. But I get now the feeling that she didn't want to. I
will just say, tonally and narratively, that's that's a valid criticism. It's a Cyberpunk game where you're helping the fucking police. Like, that's not very Cyberpunk.
No, but that game, that's not. I don't think that's accurate in the world. Like you feel like maybe like a private detective kind of thing. You don't feel as though you're an anti-police person at all.
You're not a fucking private detective. The first story mission you have to do after the prologue is you fucking stealing some high-tech ship and blah, blah, blah. Like, you're a criminal from the word go.
You're not.
You don't get
you're
to
not a
feel
criminal.
like a private detective.
You're not a criminal. That's not how that's not, for me, that's not how the game feels.
It doesn't come across as a criminal.
You're not a criminal at all.
I'd say it's more...
You're not Grand Theft Auto, Jamie. Like, that game does not feel like you are any of the Grand Theft Auto guys in Grand Theft Auto 5 against the law as a criminal.
Chris,
are...
Yeah. Do you feel like a private detective when you play Cyberpunk?
I don't.
Okay.
No, I feel kind of like a...
Do you feel that the narrative
gun
journey
for hire,
V
a mercenary?
Okay, do you feel like the gun for hire and the gun for hire that V is and the journey he goes on through the narrative, that it makes sense for him to run off and start working with the police directly?
Yes.
Okay, fair enough.
Like it does. Fair enough that you're not a private detective, Jamie, but you are in a sense that you're doing missions that would, like a dark private dick would do.
Please don't use the
private
like
dick.
Jonesy's a dick boy. Jonesy's the dick boy.
It's straight out of something like Blade Runner, right? You feel like you are not. So the first mission, as you were saying, right, the first thing you do in that game that feels real and that you get your teeth into is you go and help a woman who's in a bathtub who's been stolen by criminals, and you take her onto the landing of outside. You give her to the medvac people, and you take the chip out so that she can be found. You lay her on the floor, the medvac people come and take her away, and you say, the police are on the way in, so we can bug out, let's go. And that is like, you are not by any stretch a criminal. The criminals are very separate. They're over here. They're the gangs. They're the baddies.
Yeah.
They're the people that are
I agree with
stealing
that.
organs. And you are not that. You are like a facilitator connecting the slightly murky underworld to the overworld of people on the right side of the law. But helping the police, if it was for V's benefit, is completely down the line with what V would do. The idea that you are a criminal, this is why one of the things that rubbed me up the wrong way is the idea of the wanted system is like, it's not very good. But for me, that game is like not about running away from the police. Like, it's bad, it's a terrible implementation, and the way cops spawn is crap, and the fact they can't drive cars is ridiculous. But because if you want to play the game like that, you should be able to. But at the same time, like, if you're trying to play this game like Grand Theft Auto, it's not Grand Theft Auto. Like, that's not how that's not the game it is. You say before when we moan about games and you go like, it's not that game. This is not that game. But do you know who did say that the PC version was not that good from the get-go? We said it on SuperShow because I've said it every bloody week, is people keep talking about bugs, people keep talking about console versions. The PC versions of this game are not 9 out of 10, 10 out of 10, because there are so many things missing.
We gave it like, I think I gave it a 7.
I can't even remember like ratings, but we definitely talked about all the broken stuff, and it's, for me, the worst, and I even said it multiple times, the worst stuff is not the bugs, because that can be fixed. It is the problems with the game that maybe can't be fixed. It is the lack of systems. It is the lack of good AI. It is the way that the game doesn't let you interact with that world.
So to loop that back around to kind of the point you were almost making a bit ago, what is the kind of the theory around why so many journalists who played this game, in isolation ahead of release on decent PCs were so inclined to give it 9s and 10s?
Do you know what? Do you think I have no idea.
Like, we're kind of caught up in the hysteria of it all.
I think
almost
so.
Scared to slate the game of the quote unquote game of the generation.
It's baffling, dude. I don't know.
I think you're right, Jamie, and what you said about that people maybe were like, we've played it, we've got to get it out, we've got to be first. Maybe they rushed through the game and didn't interact with a lot of the systems. And then
some people definitely did. I remember that as being a factor. Yeah.
And then maybe they were kind of swept up by it. I think Plaggy, I think in that 40-minute thing she did, I think she now looking back, I think she misspoke. I think what she meant was, the game didn't make me want to do this stuff and didn't implement it very well, so I didn't get involved in it. But what it sounded like she said was,
better argument, right?
Yeah, much better.
Much better. Yeah.
But I think then she's a written journalist, right? She writes her words down. I can't speak half the time. I'm much better when I write stuff down. Maybe that's what she did.
So this is something that I've been thinking about as well. Like, I've been quite introspective about. I mean, not like I haven't before, but I've been quite introspective about our time at ATG, and just thinking on that. How many times did we have some people on our podcast where
Fallout 76? No, I'm joking.
No, on the ATG podcast as an example, because we're talking about this woman who went on a podcast and spoke very badly or poorly, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
We've had podcasts with guests where the guests are maybe in a normal conversation, they can articulate absolutely perfectly. As soon as you put them in front of a microphone with a camera, something just falls apart. And
that's true.
And it's something that, being introspective about our time with ATG, has kind of made me re-look at some of those things. People are not, like, it's funny, like, you talk about a games journalist, and in this day and age on the internet, you kind of expect, hey, this person or woman or dude, woman, whatever, they are writing this article, so written word, that's fine. But I also expect them to be a really good presenter to camera and a really good guest on a podcast. Like, no, that doesn't happen.
Yeah, and it's really easy to misspeak. It's really easy to like just lose I do it all the time, where you've got a point, but you're just really bad at putting it across, and it just sounds like.
I know. We said we don't need to be apologetic, but how many times after we stop that record button do we say to ourselves, "Oh fuck, was that all right?" Like,
yeah, we've done it loads of times,
all the time,
like and every single episode.
We're not even making content that we know, like, every single word we say will be poured over, which is the situation you're in when you're the frontline reviewer of Cyberpunk for the second biggest video game website in the world.
Yeah.
Which is, you don't get me wrong, you have to roll with the punches. You take the role, you take the responsibility. That's what comes with the territory. I'm not suggesting that, we should be shielding these people, because that's the jobs they are paid for at the end of the day. But at the same time, like, the internet is going to go for you. And I'm sure I do wonder if some people did maybe feel scared or pressured to, because you go back through highly critically acclaimed games over the years. So how often have we been able to guess the Metacritic score range for a game, a week or two prior to release? Sometimes with a lot of games, you just know. And there were probably a lot of people who are really scared to play that pre-release version of Cyberpunk and bet against what people wanted to be the game of the generation, the game of the decade, whatever thing you want to use. And so they kind of didn't. They focused on the positives. They maybe got a bit of tunnel vision. They also put maybe a bit too much benefit of the doubt on the day 0 and the day 1 patches, and then before you know it, you have a 9 out of 10 review.
See, they need to go back to some Hollywood films and the knowledge therein, right? Because it was Gladiator that said, "What we do echoes in eternity," right? If they had just said, if they had towed the line and said, "You know what? No, man. The systems are not there. This is fucking solid," like this woman had done. You know what? Yeah, you get over the speed bump, you wait for the rain to finish, and it's fucking plain sailing. Because you know what she's doing now? She's fucking leaning backwards and going. She put her Instagram on private because she got harassed and shit. I'm trying to make a point.
How you really do it this day and age? Yeah. And it sounds like a weird thing. You turn the focus away from things that are easy to grab quotes from or grab little things or scores and that like that by either A, publishing reviews that don't have any numbers in them at all, or B, doing the Famitsu thing and having multiple reviewers that all review it at the same time and have one of them always be the negative guy and one of them always be the positive guy, and whichever way it comes out, someone agrees with you.
I like it. Good cop, bad cop gaming.
That's honestly, like, if we were ever scared, if we needed to review something, all we'd have to do is all three of us review it at once. Make sure one of us likes it, one of us doesn't like it that much, the other one's in the middle. And
that's what we do every time.
It pretty much is.
Exactly. That's how we never piss anyone off, because all the comments are just like, this week I agree with this person. Really now that, and then the week after it's like, I think this person made a lot of sense this week. We could just disagree with each other, and eventually we'll agree with the audience.
You've made me. The thing is, and now they're not going to believe it, but we are being genuine about these kinds of things. We don't do that on purpose.
You raise a point, and I hadn't thought of it like that, but actually, and it's a horrible realization, but because I think maybe you're bang on, right? I think, Jamie, what you were saying about people, reviewers and games journalists trying to sort of like gauge how the audience are going to react, and then trying to make sure they're close enough to that reaction so they don't get a backlash. I think that absolutely. I think that you're bang on with that, because you saw it, like you said, you saw it with Cyberpunk, and we also saw it with in the inverse. We saw it with Last of Us Part 2. Ghost of Tsushima was like, people were mad because they rated it down or they didn't rate it high enough.
Days Gone.
It was obviously a really good example of that. And and there's a weird thing. So anyone who hasn't played Cyberpunk, there's a very strange thing with it. And now it sounds like we're bad-mouthing it again and we're saying these systems are missing. But I have a rather expensive Cyberpunk chair, okay? If anyone asked me if I regretted getting that based on the game, I would say no. Because the game, when you play...
Because it's a chair.
No, but like, do you know what I mean? But when people...
It fulfills a function that you'd need to sit at your desk.
Okay, but let's say, for example, I'd bought a chair for... What was that game that came out with the launch of the PlayStation 5? Or just after, where you could like where it's like heavenly things. It was like a mobile game. We were ripping on it for looking like a mobile game.
Oh, Godfall.
Godfall. If I had a Godfall chair because I'd seen one trailer and was like, this game's going to be legit, I would now feel really shit about having a Godfall chair. Cyberpunk still has the potential to be a phenomenal game, and it's still a very enjoyable RPG. I've really enjoyed what I've played of it. I've laughed at some her like terrible bugs. I found it harrowing in places. I've had 3 people commit suicide, probably directly because of my actions in that game, and I felt it. I felt it every time, and they're all side quests. And it's it's a very sorry, go on.
Sorry, no, sorry, you're not my bad.
It's a very well written game with some incredible aspects, but it just needs to be fixed. It doesn't feel like a shit game that they phoned in.
I was going to say, this sounds like video game day trading, and like the Cyberpunk stock has just nosedived, and now Jonesy's standing there being like, no, don't sell Cyberpunk. Everyone needs to hang on to their Cyberpunk right now. Because Cyberpunk is the new Bitcoin. It's good. Just ride it out, baby.
Should we do our weekly check-in?
Of your
on
Bitcoin, yeah.
Bitcoin.
No,
Do you know what?
not on Bitcoin, on CDPR's.
Am I
stock
crazy
price.
for like every time Bitcoin comes up and another person says, I know it sounds makes it expensive, but just buy it now because it's going to keep going up. I'm like, why do you always feel like you're going to be the person who makes it go down? Is that just me? That must be everyone.
Nah,
right?
that's
I get
everyone.
it as well.
No, because Chris and I have been saying for such a long time about buying Bitcoin, and
You acted on it. I didn't.
I did, but then I sold it.
Shall I buy 0.01 of a Bitcoin?
Yes.
There's
right
no
now.
point. No, Bitcoin's been at the moment. It's I don't know. I'd have a look, man, because it's been a bit up and down. Well, it's always up and down.
0.1 of a Bitcoin.
So current stock price on
Yeah.
CD Projekt is, where is that? So from where I is it going to give me an actual £16.91, $16.91. It has gone down from a high. Do you want to hear the high? Was over $30. So it's halved in price.
Rather just buy Tesla stock, right?
The Tesla shit is fucking crazy.
It's phenomenal.
The,
but anyway, we're not a fucking stocks podcast.
One last Bitcoin thing. Did you guys hear about the guy who's got running out of password attempts?
2 password attempts.
Oh, it's fucking so quality.
That's so tragic.
Shall I tell you? I won't tell you in any information. I know a guy who died before. I knew him before.
Oh
he died.
yeah, I remember this.
He had I want to say he had like 100 grand in Bitcoin. So he had like 100, maybe not 100 grand, maybe he had like £50,000. He put it into Bitcoin. He died.
Do you know when?
Yeah.
I remember this, Jones. I remember you telling us this.
3 years ago.
And I remember you telling us this when we were recording an ATG podcast when you told us this.
Yeah, but I think, but I told you then. He didn't buy it then. So I think he must have bought it like 3 years ago ish.
Man,
I
it
think
must be worth so much now.
But it was like 50 grand. He then died 2 years ago. And he'd sent off, I think, so because you can get this code turned into words or something so that you can remember it.
Yeah, like a plaque or something.
Yeah, exactly. I think he'd done that, but he hadn't actually done it yet, and then he died.
Oh.
And his relatives or whatever tried to find the code, and I don't think they ever did.
That sucks.
I was going to say, if it was 3 years ago, he's probably tripled his money.
Oh, okay. Only tripled isn't too bad then, so it's still a lot of money.
Well, because 3 years ago was 2018, and that was when it had started to go. Whoop. That was the first time it went up.
Okay.
There was one dude. I was reading this article. I can't remember the exact numbers. So I'm probably gonna get it wrong. But I think he was a visual effects artist, and he bought Tesla stock like before Tesla had come out with the Model S.
Right.
So when it just had that, like, it was like a reskinned Lotus Elise.
Oh yeah, I think I remember that. Yeah.
Yeah, and he bought Tesla stock then, and it's like you cannot believe how much money he's made from it.
Wow.
Like I think it was something like he spent like put in like 10 grand in stock or something, or $1,000, and dude's like multi-millionaire now.
What the
Like
fuck?
like stupid money. Stupid.
So Tesla was running at $50 for years. And then it literally in the last year it's exploded 10 times as much.
That's why Elon Musk is now the richest man. He overtook Jeff Bezos.
Yeah, but it's bullshit. It's not real.
Numero uno.
I know it's not real, but none of it's ever real with either.
No, you're right. Was it the guy from the Big Short, the guy that predicted the crash of the housing market? He apparently the other day said Tesla's the next.
The Steve Carell character.
No, the other one, the Christian Bale.
Christian Bale character. My bad.
He said that Tesla is the next Big Short like thing that's going to go. I think he shorted Tesla, if I remember rightly. Or maybe he didn't. No, I better not say that in case.
I don't know. That stuff is all a bit of a dangerous game, isn't it? Where so many of the stories you hear are the stories of people who make money, and it's all very easy to overlook the amount of people who lose every penny they've ever earned doing that kind of shit. And sometimes I just think easiest path through life, steer clear.
Yeah.
Play video games.
Because the people that are going to shout the most about it are the people that made the millions, right? And they're the 1%ers of the people that made the millions out of it, and everyone else gone bankrupt, and they're not going to go shouting from the rooftops, and you're not going to listen to them anyway.
Absolutely.
Because they've lost all their money.
Do you know what the big trick is? Diversified mutual funds. Make your percentage, it's a lower percentage, but it's a lot safer, and it just
honestly the only thing I'd ever do property, because it's like I can wrap my brain around property. My head understands it.
You know what I would do? Money underneath your mattress.
Money underneath the mattress. Do you know what I do? Patron. Patron's the future, baby.
Money under your mattress is the worst because you're just losing money every day.
Yeah.
No, do you know what losing money every day is? Being 27 and still renting.
Yeah, that's true.
And every month I'm like, well,
Hey,
there's money I'll never see again.
try being unemployed for a year.
I think I probably will give it a go pretty soon at this rate.
We've gone a bit weird again, haven't we?
Yeah, all right, let's move on.
When are we ever not
Yeah,
weird?
it's true. Very true.
Fellas, you want to hear something else that is kind of weird?
Yes, please.
I do.
LucasArts has come back in a way because Lucasfilm has announced Lucasfilm Games.
Hell yeah.
Hell yeah. As
I've gotta be honest.
almost like an umbrella term for Lucasfilm properties in games. It's lovely.
It is.
That
It's
is
nice
wicked.
to have it all under one roof.
Yeah.
And when they announced that, I was like, okay, so what? And like within 24 hours, I was like, oh, that's why.
It is maybe it's huge news, especially for old school fans of LucasArts, as it were, because a lot of the stuff that they're saying is they really want to live up to the standards that people remember of LucasArts. And funnily enough, LucasArts didn't actually have that high standards, but people think it did. Okay? It's very much rose into glasses.
Kind of like that film series, Star Wars.
Pretty much. Yeah. But it was really cool. On Monday 11th, Star Wars and Disney announced Lucasfilm Games as the new official identity or kind of catch-all umbrella term for all game titles from Lucasfilm. So the very next day, and this is where I think, Jamie, you were talking about, it gets really fucking exciting, is Bethesda announces development of a new Indiana Jones game with an original story developed by Machine Games of Wolfenstein and former Starbreeze team members. Fame. This is like...
That's the most exciting part, I think, of this whole thing.
And that little cinematic trailer and everything. They didn't have any gameplay. It's probably multiple years away, but it's still fucking exciting because you think Machine Games and you think Nazis.
Not just Nazis, but like fucking destroying Nazis.
But that's the only thing that worries me about it is because I like the idea of an Indiana Jones game. Do you know the last Indiana Jones game I played was Indiana Jones and the Search for Atlantis on floppy disk. Fate of Atlantis.
Hell yeah.
On
Great game.
floppy
Great
disk.
fucking game.
Brilliant game.
Yeah.
Point and click game. I have been waiting and waiting for an Indiana Jones game. But I really hope it doesn't turn into like an all-out shoot fest.
Well, I mean, Machine Games.
Exactly, mate. That's why I'm worried.
But you were a big Chronicles of Riddick Escape from Butcher Bay.
I was.
So maybe you're somewhat hopeful that if there is any kind of Starbreeze and Butcher Bay DNA left in Machine Games, that they can extrapolate some of that. Still first person, which isn't what you always think of with an iconic character.
No, we don't know if it's first person, right?
We don't know that, but they've never made one that's not. So it would be like a sort of a respawn Jedi Fallen Order situation of like, can they translate some of that stuff?
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Another interesting thing, executive produced by Todd Howard, the man, the legend, my wet dream.
Big Todd.
The big Todd,
Which I guess is a positive thing, no matter, like, there are misfires that regrettably, some of which have been more recent. This, like, Todd Howard's reputation in 2021 isn't what it was in, say, let's say mid 2015, just after E3 2015. But he still led some huge projects, right? Like the guy clearly can still lead a team and make big games.
And he knows what he's doing.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, you want to think he knows what he's doing, but yeah.
Let's just pretend he wasn't really that involved in Fallout 76, and all of a sudden everything's
it's
kind
fine.
of okay.
But
although,
what's weird
you
here,
look at
though,
Fallout 76, and then you look at Cyberpunk, you're like,
It can happen to anyone.
But what's weird about this is you'd almost think like, because we've talked about this before, right? You can look at what other people have done and you can try and avoid the pitfalls and et cetera, et cetera. Is there a game character or like an idea of a type of game that should be easier to nail than Indiana Jones? You've got Uncharted, you've got Tomb Raider. You can look at all the pitfalls. You've got, like you say, you've got Machine Games. They can look at everything they've done with killing Nazis and even what worked with movie crossover stuff from like Riddick and things. You can look at all of this stuff, how to work third person, how to work first person. Surely they shouldn't be able to get it wrong.
Hold on a second, because I'm Jamie, you're going to have to help me out on this, but we had an argument about this very kind of thing quite recently where, Jonesy, you came on the other side of this kind of argument.
No, because I was saying
James Bond.
No, it wasn't James Bond. Was it? It was. Was it James Bond?
it was like a Destiny thing, wasn't it? Like a shooter or something, a games as a service. And we said,
what was
we
it?
said there's a clearly defined blueprint.
Was it Marvel?
How could they fuck it up?
Was it Marvel?
Yeah, it was
Yes,
Marvel.
It was Marvel. No, but because what I was saying was in when you bring out a new game, right, you should be able to say, oh, I was saying you need to do different stuff and that you're going to fall in new pitfalls because you don't want to copy.
Jonesy, when you start a new project, you have to do a SWOT analysis. Strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats.
This isn't the same as that. This isn't the same as that with respect, because that games as a service thing, Destiny thing, the Marvel thing is one thing. This is Indiana Jones. So you know that what you need to do with the character, you know what you need to do with the story.
Yeah.
And so you've already got the difference because you're already different. It's Indiana Jones. It's not hard. It's freaking Indiana Jones. He needs a bullwhip.
Hold on.
Needs a revolver. You just need to look at all those other games and go, where did they fuck up? Let's not do that.
But, because you say that, but might I remind you of the existence of Kingdom of the Crystal Skull?
Yes, okay. That was but film is more difficult.
People behind Indiana Jones fucking up Indiana Jones in the original format of Indiana Jones.
Film is, I would say, maybe more difficult because it's all narrative and it's easy to fuck up narrative. Whereas at least with games, you can rely on mechanics, like loot systems and blah, 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 however you want to play it out. Narrative is one aspect, whereas film is all narrative. You can easily fuck up narrative.
I get you. I don't know, man. Yeah. I'm so hyped for this. I can't necessarily tell you why.
I think it's just because it's a mix of what both of you were just saying, right? Which is it's a familiar character that we all know that we like when done right, and it's a familiar framework that we can easily envision. Let's call it what I think a lot of people have in their heads right now, which is a third-person action adventure game. Yeah. It's going to be a little bit Uncharted. It's going to incorporate some elements of a traditional combat system, but maybe to make it a bit more indie, it has a slightly more melee and whip focused kind of stuff as opposed to just there are 50 different guns. You're gonna have there's lots of stuff for like traversal and climbing based mechanics nowadays. Exploration, puzzle mechanics are right at home in an Indiana Jones game, and of course one of the things that are like at their most dazzling nowadays more than ever before in the history of gaming, which is action set pieces. Some of which, Machine Games have done before to a lot of the times in cutscenes, I will say, not always in engine. But it's not hard to imagine an Indiana Jones game that learns a lot of lessons from Naughty Dog's games, and that is pretty cool for a lot of those reasons.
But I will say, I think the reason that I'm the most excited is Machine Games. It seems like such a left field choice, but it just makes so much fucking perfect sense to me. I don't know why, but
I don't know if it does to me, which is because all I know of Machine Games in their current form, there's elements of it that make perfect sense, but Machine Games have never made a game that's not first person. Machine Games in their current form have never made a game that's not just about killing Nazis. They've never made a game that hasn't had a very severe and dark sense of humor that wouldn't always be appropriate for Indiana Jones. They haven't made a game that's not about ludicrous violence, and they haven't made a game, in my opinion, that hasn't had its greatest strengths lying in unbelievable, bizarre, surreal story moments that you could not get away with in a licensed property like this.
No, hold on, because people forget this about Indiana Jones, dude. The first one, you had the Ark of the Covenant where you open it up and spirits melt people's faces off. In the second one, you have, what's his name? Kali Ma fucking takes the still beating heart out of someone. Dude, there's a lot of fucking fantastical elements in Indiana Jones. But
it's never dark in the way that Machine Games have been.
He pulled the heart out of the dude's chest while he was alive.
But it's always in service of
they were eating monkey brains.
Do you know what? In that I never knew he pulled the heart out because every good Brit, I had a VHS player as a kid, and we recorded it off the telly. And of course, on the telly they remove the heart, so I always knew it as the guy just holds his hand up like this.
You've got to remember, can I do some Wolfenstein 2 spoilers for 30 seconds?
Sure, you might as well, dude. The game's been out long enough.
Skip 30 seconds to a minute if you don't want to hear Wolfenstein 2 spoilers. But that's literally a game where an American freedom fighter, who comes to live in America, gets captured by Nazi forces, gets publicly decapitated outside next to the Washington Monument, only for a drain to capture his head and be reasserted to a mechanical body by a scientist that already experimented by putting a cat's head on a monkey's body, only for them to then formulate a plan to go and sneak to get close to Hitler, because Hitler is making a film version about the character that you play as. You fly to the planet Jupiter, to the planet or Venus or some fucking planet. You fly to a literal another fucking planet with a fake mustache on to audition to play the character of yourself in a film written and a film directed by Hitler, to Hitler, where Hitler is presented as some old decrepit man who constantly pisses himself and throws up everywhere and shoots people when he gets angry. You write the lines that you're auditioning for on your hand, only for your palms to get sweaty, and it smear off, so you have to guess your lines until you're put in a scene whether or not you could do like physical comedy or physical action, and you're put in a perspex glass cube where you have to stand in front of a Nazi officer, at which point BJ Blazkowicz loses his shit, gets angry, steals the gun from the officer, and shoots the entire fucking magazine into him and goes on a speech, which Hitler loves and casts him as himself.
But now add Indiana Jones.
And Indiana Jones. BJ Blazkowicz is Indiana Jones, directed by Adolf Hitler.
That doesn't worry. See, okay, I know that sounds like a lot, but this is going to sound ridiculous then.
I know that sounds like a lot.
That doesn't worry me. That's not what worries me.
Wolfenstein 2 is so fucking cool.
But that's not what worries me, because that is like people going, hey, let's be crazy in our crazy game. And I think it's quite easy to go, this isn't crazy game now. This is game about Indiana Jones. And they go, okay, we can do that. The thing that worries me more is that I didn't love some of the level design in Wolfenstein 2. I actually thought that some of it wasn't done very well. And one of the things that you have to have on point in a game like Indiana Jones, in an Indiana Jones game, it has to feel like it's well designed, because if you're going to be putting this bag of sand on the thing and then running away and running around a corner and diving out the way of a boulder and, you know, dodging waterfalls and people shooting, like, you want it to feel I'll say it. Do you know the game that was on point last year that absolutely fucking smashed level design at the park was The Last of Us Part 2. Those set pieces were insanely good. And if you wanted to have one that you need to have an Indiana Jones game, for me, has the standard of and the design of, is The Last of Us Part 2. And I don't believe at this point Machine Games can pull anything like that off.
Maybe they can't, but you know who might just be able to, Jonesy?
Todd Howard.
Yeah, it's called the Todd Howard effect.
Do you know what else it's called? It's called a check from Microsoft.
Oh, yeah, you can hire some people to do it for you.
Yeah, true. Yeah. Fuck, man, yeah.
Like we might also, which none of us know, right? Like, this might be, hey, Machine Games have the Wolfenstein 3 team and the Indiana Jones team working side by side, because as we know from when Microsoft decided to grow out the team behind Forza Horizon and have them make Fable at the same time. Like, when Microsoft want a studio to all of a sudden have a new office with 300 people in it, it will happen very quickly.
They snap their fingers and it appears like a fucking genie.
All of a sudden, like, the best talent from the industry work at a second office for Machine Games working on a brand new project. You know, the stranger things have happened.
Do you know what? Do you know what the real problem about this whole game is? And what Jamie just said, he's absolutely right. And whoever said about the Crystal Skull is absolutely right. This will be, rather than a step back toward the Indiana Jones trilogy of old, it will be a step further along the Crystal Stone path. It'll be
don't say that.
Swinging through trees with monkeys, driving through universities with mountain bikes, aliens with crystal skulls. It will be all that shit times 5.
Just as long as Hitler's in it. I'm
no, because now you say that he will be in it. He's been in an Indiana Jones film.
But guys, the weird thing is that not that it necessarily means anything, but that cinematic trailer that they had, cinematic trailer, that is one still image that they panned across, it was all about like Vatican City and shit like that.
So basically, you're going to audition to be in a film directed by the Pope,
and the Pope's going to be Hitler right at the end.
Yeah. On the planet Venus.
On the planet Venus. But anyway, guys, that's not the only project that has been announced. You know, they had a sizzle reel with kind of existing games as well. But as of recording today, so a couple of days as you're hearing it, it was announced that Ubisoft Massive, the devs behind the Division series, are teaming up with Lucasfilm Games to work on a new Star Wars project with a little bit of a sizzle reel of their own, which was just a starfield and logos that then just said Star Wars.
Oh, I see. I see what they're going for with that.
In case you missed it, you know.
Interesting.
I like to
Might
call
have to
that
watch that one back, actually.
Yeah, I like to call that one the Jonesy special because he loves game announcements where it's just a fucking logo.
I might have to 0.5 times speed that one just to make sure I didn't miss it.
Yeah, true. There's if you look carefully, if you squint, the starfield at the back. Do you remember those 3D images where you had to like squint at a funky piece of paper for like 5 minutes, and then it is like popped out at you? It's one of those.
At least when Metroid did it, it was something that it was like, oh, we haven't seen a game of like one of these games for a while. Squadrons came out last year. Like Squadrons came out last year, and it was so. It's not like I'm going to get excited about another Star Wars project when you just show me some logos. When a mediocre Star Wars game came out not long ago, like there's so many mediocre Star Wars games. There are some very good Star Wars games, but they used to come out thick and fast anyway. And then we've had obviously Fallen Order was good. Squadrons was not that impressive apparently. But then don't just show logos and a starfield. Like we get it. More Star Wars games. Yeah, we get it.
This very much felt like a oh, we're here too kind of moment, you know. Don't forget about us. We're also doing something. We're Ubisoft, you know. But I think it's cool to kind of think.
Show me more. Show me more. I want to see more.
Yeah. But if they go the Division route of that third person games as a service thing,
that'd be fucking brilliant
with a Star Wars property. I think I could be down for it.
My balls would fucking double in size. If
tell you what, how they win the
then you will be like fucking Stan Marsh.
I'd be so primed for milking.
How they win the internet.
Those microtransactions.
Do you know how they win the internet this year? Is they just have like the same sort of little thing again, and then it just flashes up the title of the game, which is just something to do with the Mandalorian. Or it's got Baby Yoda in it, and everyone loses their minds.
What about the Man Division? The Man Division.
The Man Division.
Just call it the Man Division.
Great.
Yeah, I think it's hard to know, right? Because the guy who's the creative director in this game was the creative director on the Division 2. He was the guy that French dude who's out on stage at E3 when they were showing that game properly.
Yeah, but he's also the dude that did The Crew. So,
but the first Crew wasn't bad. The first Crew had some interesting ideas. It was a little bit lost in that it felt it needed a story that it didn't need, and so on and so forth.
Yeah.
But the other thing I was going to say is that Snowdrop engine, which they've said it's going to run in, can be really damn pretty, like Snowdrop Hoth. Like that could be a damn fine thing. And it's also just like EA did some interesting.
Sorry, Jamie, they're going to have a trailer where you're on the planet Hoth, and there's some X-wings that are there. And you're shooting your blaster, and you walk past the X-ring, and as you're walking by, you close the cockpit, and it will be like, "Oh my god, did you see that? He walked by and he closed the cockpit. Oh, amazing!"
Big time.
If we get a Division trailer,
it took me. Oh, fuck! You know what? I've got to make amends here. It took me too long to understand what Chris was doing, and now I understand it. That's actually pretty good. That's actually. They should make that a trophy.
If we get like a Division trailer for this. You know, the same sort of thing, and then it turns out to be, it's nothing like we thought it would be at first. It's no.
Do you guys remember that when they were showing off? Sorry, on a tangent. The first Division. There's like, and your friends can be playing on a tablet and controlling these drones that hover over the. I was like, that was cool.
I thought it was wicked.
Where's that?
Where's
that, Ubisoft?
Where is that?
I'm still waiting.
That's the kind of thing that they probably did, but they did so poorly they intentionally didn't tell anyone about. But like I love to dunk on Star Wars. I will completely allow people to get excited about this not just because I'm a Division fan and I think Massive could make a good game, but just because like the recent EA era of Star Wars exclusivity underwhelmed, right?
Yeah.
And I think one of the most disappointing facts of it is that for reasons that we've mostly been made privy to via Jason Schreier, more interesting stuff got cancelled than got released.
Yeah.
And Jedi Fallen Order, I didn't play Squadrons, but it felt to me like Jedi Fallen Order was the closest we came to like the Star Wars game that people have wanted for a long, long time. Yeah. And I hope that this new wave of Star Wars games that clearly Ubisoft leading from the front here, and why wouldn't they, can do and deliver on what people have wanted for a long, long time. Because it shouldn't be that hard. For much the same reason indie should be easier than indie in some respects.
Yeah, you've won half the battle, right? You've got the story. You've got the IP.
You've got the worlds, you've got the races, you've got the ideas, the concepts. In a lot of cases, you've got weapons and powers, and I don't know. Just make a really fucking high quality AAA, maybe even open world, which I know has been rumored and flirted with around this particular project, the Ubisoft Massive one. Like, just give people it. Kind of like with indie. I don't want to make it just like, hey, our dream games are games that have already been made with a new skin on top.
Yeah.
But it's easy to see which games that have already been released would have worked as games in these other IPs had they just been set up that way.
Yeah, totally.
For sure.
But it's interesting that EA have said that they don't have exclusivity on Star Wars, but they are still developing Star Wars games. You'd have to imagine they're doing a follow-up to Jedi Fallen Order of some sort, as an example. Battlefront 3 would be a no-brainer as well. But I know of another game dev that also has the Star Wars license.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and I think you guys should know about it too. So there's some interesting things coming out of this, and all these little strands that I've kind of heard about under this umbrella now make a whole lot of sense. I'm excited, man. I think it's a reinvigorated the interest for these kinds of things. Now,
has there been like a proper Star Wars Bethesda RPG? Style, not Bethesda, but
BioWare and KOTOR were probably the closest.
Of course.
I mean, but then again, even
but KOTOR's obviously
like BioWare's RPGs are different to Bethesda's RPGs, right? They're not as they don't have as big an emphasis on like a sprawling open world and sort of side stories. They're
they were definitely hub worlds, character driven, and turn-based combat for KOTOR.
So
but really, there's the MMO though, the Knights of the
Old Republic,
the Old Republic, just not Knights.
But if you exclude that stuff, like post KOTOR 1 and 2, it was all like there were licensed games. There were the kind of Rebellion Battlefront games, which were very well received, but kind of like didn't tick too many boxes. But for a long time there was a lull, and I remember when Star Wars Battlefront 1, EA and DICE's Battlefront 1 hadn't come out yet. Like, I remember us being in the office at ATG, and like that game was a big fucking deal.
Yeah, it was.
Because we'd gone unsatisfied for a long time. And I think the things that have come out since then, including that game, haven't always scratched that itch. I think that Jedi Fallen Order is a decent game, but I completely get why Star Wars fans might want more.
I think Fallen Order is a weird one because it's like, I think we were saying it's the game we wanted and they did it, but actually I like it's not the game I wanted, but I enjoyed it, and I know why I enjoyed it because they did so much right. But then it almost made me want more because I was like, you've done such a good job of things that I didn't even really want, but Jonesy, it feels wicked.
Jonesy,
yes, man.
Next gen upgrade for Fallen Order, locked at 60 FPS, which is really what that game needed. But
so that's not what I think that game needed. I think that game needed. I think I needed
100%. That's what that game needed.
That's not an issue. I didn't find that as an issue as I was playing that game. I thought the game was cool, but it wasn't. I didn't want that type of game. I didn't want a sit down at the campfire, your enemies respawn, you can refight them. I didn't want that as a game.
Souls-like.
Yeah, I didn't want that Souls kind of feel to it.
I admired those decisions.
Yeah, for sure. They did. They made a very cool game. They made a very cool game.
But I can see why, like, a potentially open world Star Wars game from the makers of The Division in the running on the Snowdrop engine. You look at that and think, like, actually, there's a room in there for maybe a slightly better fit.
Yeah. I know this is going back to Indiana Jones a bit, but can I ask you guys very really quickly, if you could have a movie to game like made, if you could pick it, what would it be?
Ooh.
Interesting. One I think about a lot, and I don't know who you would get to do it in a way that kind of encompassed all the different elements of it, but I think there's still so much more room for exploration in the Matrix than we ever got in video game format.
Sure.
I forget. I know I am. I'm pretty sure we're all kind of pro Enter the Matrix.
Yeah, man,
right?
I loved it.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're all pro Enter the Matrix, which wasn't had a lot of problems.
That was a 7 out of 10 game, but you can you can love a 7 out of 10 game.
Phenomenal.
But like, do you know what's basically what triggered this is that, like, do you remember when My Friend Pedro came out? And a lot of people were like, "Oh, like it's a modern day kind of John Wick. It's like a video game John Wick, I should say."
Yeah.
I've been replaying, and I didn't mention this because it didn't need mentioning, but I've been replaying Max Payne.
Right.
About 6 or 7 hours into Max Payne 3, I should clarify. Important distinction.
The wrong one, but okay.
That's the thing, not for my taste, but that's to each their own. And I think, like, other than the fact that Max is older than John Wick and by extension Neo, and is a like slower and a little bit less light on his feet. The gunplay elements of Max Payne 3 are almost the closest you're going to get to a John Wick or the Matrix in that sense alone. Its approach to bullet time and stuff like that, and the way the gunplay feels and handles.
I never played it,
and that gave me a bit of a taste. It's decent. It's decent.
One of you guys is crunching something. It's driving me absolutely fucking.
Oh, that's that.
dilly.
That must be like some weird anxiety thing. I'm doing it subconsciously. I'm just like folding up a receipt over and over in my hands.
I'm just expecting one of you to like start eating chips or something.
I don't know how that was so audible. Weird. My apologies if you're picking that up at home.
How dare you?
But yeah,
Anyway,
I'm gonna say the Matrix. I think there are
Matrix is
cool
a good
shouts.
shot, dude. Yeah.
Like imagine the Matrix with like Rocksteady's combat system from Batman adapted to the Matrix.
yeah, that'd be really
As an
cool.
example,
That'd be wicked.
just throwing that out there.
That'd be very
Yeah.
cool.
Or Remedy's gunplay, like a control version of the Matrix.
Yeah.
What would you go with, Chris?
Man, it's so hard, dude. Like, I'm thinking Jurassic Park, but then again, you kind of had that with the Dino Crisis, because that's what I want, like a horror survival where like you're just fucking alone on the island and there's all these fucking dinosaurs about, and how are you going to survive
Cool.
it? Like, imagine like.
I would love that.
Rust is because think about it, like Rust is getting a lot of traction again on Twitch.
Yeah.
You've got Ark, which has been really popular in Ark 2 with fucking Vin Diesel. But like, yes, maybe there's something there. But then again, that's like it's kind of done. But I don't know. It's hard, man. Like
Far Cry 3 always made me want Jurassic Park, like a proper Jurassic Park game where it was set on the island from the original film, because you had those weird kind of like little bases that had the really high walls. It made me feel like I was going through the trees and then coming. And I think it was Blood Dragon that had the laser wall thing all around them, and you could shut off the gates. And it made me think like, oh shit, this could be a wicked place to set a Jurassic Park game. Yeah, I'm totally.
But that's hard, dude, because like a lot of the films that I like okay, one of my top films as an example is Memento. How are you going to make a game out of Memento? Like.
Oh, for sure, yeah. It's
I feel like that would be some indie game published by Annapurna Interactive. where you're puzzling things back together based on
exactly. Or like fucking an indie gem, Life as a House. How are you gonna fucking? You can't. Like, one of my favorite films is based on a Bret Easton Ellis book, which is The Rules of Attraction. How are you gonna?
But then you wouldn't pick those.
Just go to art school.
You wouldn't pick those ones.
No, but it's like, what would you do? I don't know.
What's a game that really nails?
I fucking got it.
Yeah,
go for it.
Equilibrium. Boom.
Oh, that would be really good.
I love it.
Mic drop. Fucking
Equilibrium would be fucking sick as
really
shit.
Cool.
Mic drop.
What's a game that really nailed? Oh, okay, I've got it. Well, actually, no. I'm trying to think of like games that really nailed like samurai sword or sword-based combat. And I'm thinking about games like Sekiro and Ghost of Tsushima. None of them really work. But what about
Ghost of
taking
Tsushima
from a game
what do you
like
mean? You don't think the samurai
No,
stuff?
because I haven't said the property yet. That I'm talking about.
Okay.
I've got it. I've got. Go on, but I've got it.
I'm talking about what about taking the ideas from like a Sekiro or a Tsushima for a Blade game?
Oh wow. Yeah, that would
could
work.
be pretty sick.
I think that could work.
That could be pretty sick. All right, what about this? And I've destroyed it with this one. Highlander. There can be only one.
It's a battle royale.
That's a great shout for a battle royale. You run. It's like it plays like Tsushima.
You got to get the sword. You got to get the fucking sword.
You get your sword out,
Yeah.
and you chop, and then you run off and you do it again.
They're
But
literally
you
there
got to
can
chop
be
off
only
the
one.
head.
But as long as
I
it's
think
nothing
that
like
could be
For
pretty
Honor,
cool.
because For Honor I hate.
The tutorial is narrated by the ghost of Sean Connery. Everything makes sense.
Highlander, there can be only one.
I was watching that film the other day, and it's such a bizarre film, guys. Like, I don't understand it. It's so fucking weird. Like, yeah, I don't know.
As a kid, that silhouetted sex scene, I was like, I like this, but I'm not sure why.
I've got another one.
Yeah.
And this is this one is
can it top Highlander? I don't think so, but go ahead.
No. And actually, the more I think about this one, the more I realize it's shit, because like there's already so much crossover between this film and book and like other games and stuff. But I was thinking about The Road.
That would be pretty good.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
The Cormac McCarthy book, and then the film with Viggo Mortensen or whatever.
Yeah.
But then I'm thinking like you've already got sort of like
Metro and stuff.
the father-son or the father-child dynamic in things like The Last of Us and God of War.
That's the problem
You've
with the
already got the
Jurassic Park
post-apocalypse
thing, right?
in every other game ever.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, how about this? The Goonies
Okay.
Okay, but developed by I forget the name, but the dude that did A Way Out.
Oh, and you've got to play with like
wait.
7 other people.
Yeah,
That would be cool.
Oh, like I forget their name as well. Joseph Fares and
yeah,
his
that
lot.
dude.
I've just thought, yeah.
Can I give you
Like,
one?
that'd be quite cool. Like if
Can I give you-
you got like a
Can I give you
a
my
group
one?
of 4 people, 6 people, however many Goonies there fucking were. They're going to crucify me for not remembering how many there are. But yeah,
How
imagine,
many
and you got to
are
go on
there?
your adventures, but everyone controls their own character. But
Yeah.
not like a multiplayer thing, but like a co-op thing. Okay, co-op is multiplayer, but you get what I'm
Yeah,
saying.
yeah. I think there's like
you
8,
have to work.
eight of them or so, I think.
Man, it'd be so. That would be so sick.
That would be cool. And you've got to work
I've got
together,
it.
yeah.
I've got it.
Yeah.
After Arcane Leon have finished making Deathloop,
Yeah.
where like 2 sort of like rival people, one always chasing down the other, they make No Country for Old Men, where one person plays as the guy with the money and the other person plays as the
Anton
the
Chigurh.
hitman. And it's Anton Chigurh, and it's just a cat and mouse
Open world
game.
game.
What about?
You can go anywhere you want.
Arcane Leon make Leon the Professional.
That would be
That would
sick.
also be. Oh, what about IO Interactive make Leon the Professional? It's just a hitman.
But
race.
you
just
have
a
to
skin,
play
yeah.
as Natalie Portman's character.
Wait, Chris, what did you say before?
What?
You said who? What the developer? You said Arcane. Yeah. What if the Dishonored team made a game about the Crow?
I haven't seen The Crow, actually. I must admit, I've never seen that.
You haven't seen
Now,
The Crow?
No.
now we're just going all kinds of.
Can I give you my
directions.
one? Because this is one that I've always wanted.
Sorry.
I've always wanted them to make a game of this, and I think now is the time they could do it. Right? Imagine Tony Hawk's Pro Skater, right?
Yeah.
Crossed with Naughty Dog, Uncharted. It kind of works with like set pieces and stuff, and they're making a Back to the Future,
Surf
a
Ninjas.
Back to the Future game.
All right. Back to the Future would be sick.
Why'd you need? Oh, because of the hoverboard.
And the skateboard, like Marty's got a skateboard and a hoverboard, but you have but you also need it to be open world, so you can go around all the environments that are in the 3 different time frames. So you can get in the car,
I like
and you
it.
can go back. You can go in time to 1985, 1955. Was it 20? Is it 2015? Isn't it? Or 2000? I can't remember. 2005 or 2015.
How about even better? How about even better? Is you get a different dev for each different timeline.
That would be quite fun. Yeah, that'd be cool. Because do you know what? I thought they had made a game of Back to the Future, and this is a number of years ago, and I got really excited. I was like, "Oh my god, they've done it! They've made a game!" And I realized they didn't make a game about Back to the Future.
Oh, it was Telltale.
Because it was Telltale.
Telltale
Yeah.
games. They made an interactive
poor
adventure.
Telltale.
Yeah.
Never going to get the love that they deserve from
Not from
Jonesy.
Jonesy, that's for sure. Yeah.
I mean, they should have made games, and then I would have enjoyed it. But there
Right.
we go.
Well, guys, I mean, we did have a few other things to talk about, but I think maybe, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think maybe it's served for another time.
Yeah, I think we can keep that one in our back pocket if we want to.
Yeah, for sure.
Hell,
It is
yeah.
20-1.
Yeah, for those that don't know, we are recording late into the night just because our scheduling has been so screwed up lately. But, we can thank 2021 for that one, the gift that keeps on fucking giving. But I've really fucking thoroughly enjoyed this episode, fellas. A little bit of quirkiness, a little bit of After Dark seeping into the intro. Then we got to the usual kind of thing, and I think we've ended really high with a lot of kind of hypotheticals, and let's see where this can go. I liked it. I really enjoyed it.
Big time.
So, I got to thank the both of you for being exceptional
Cheers, Chris.
on today's podcast.
Thank you for
Yeah.
leading from the front, and welcome back to the hot seat.
And he's
Yeah,
and once
enjoy it.
again,
Let's-
Chris is in 3D. So you've got that. If you've got your glasses, pop your 3D
maybe
glasses
got
on.
their specs
It-
ready.
I'm doing it on purpose now because I feel like it's my aesthetic.
It is.
It's
It
just gonna
is.
do
It's got a stain now.
Yeah.
And I've jumped it up as well because I've gone harked back to the old, Nico Bellic. So there we go. All right, fellas. Well, the only thing that's left is a code word. Now, I know in the middle of the podcast we did leave a comment in Latin.
I do have an idea for an actual code word, by the way.
Go on, let's hear it. Juicy.
I mean, dark private dick.
Dark private.
Jonesy's dark private dick.
Jonesy's
private
dark
dick.
private dick.
Let's do it. It's good.
Oh,
good.
me.
Oh my goodness. And with that, thank you so much for watching. If you're watching on YouTube, listening, if you're listening on a podcast platform of your choice, hit that like button because that's a metric that we've got to go after. And we'll see you next time. Please come back. Don't It'll get better, I promise.
See ya.
See ya.